it was the game. It was just a game in 1875. Harvard topped Yale. But through the decades, a rivalry grew.
Touchdown, Yale!
Unforgettable games, dramatic wins, heartbreaking losses, and yes, even epic ties.
He said it,
College football changed. The intensity of Harvard-Yale did not. And the last game on their schedules became the game. But this year, for the first time, an automatic bid to the NCAA playoffs is on the line. The top two teams in the Ivy League meet for the 141st playing of the game. Welcome to the All-State Saturday kickoff, and welcome to historic Yale Bowl in New Haven, Connecticut for the 141st playing of the game. It's also senior day for Yale. The rain is clearing out, chilly fall afternoon, and we are ready for Yale and Harvard, two nationally ranked teams meeting for a spot in the NCAA playoffs for the first time. Harvard has already clinched at least a share of the Ivy League championship. With a win here today, Yale would be co-champions with Harvard, and Yale would get the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. A Harvard win, they would cap an undefeated regular season and get the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. It is great to have you with us here in New Haven with the Yale alum, Jack Ford. I am Eric Freed. Of course, these are two universities, two football programs steeped in tradition and history. And it's so unique that we are living some history here today, Jack.
You know, Eric, I don't think it's an overstatement to say that this game, the game, is the most significant football game in the long and storied history of Ivy League football. First of all, it's the game, and that's always a big deal. Secondly, as you mentioned, two nationally ranked teams playing for the Ivy League championship. Harvard already with a share of it. Yale would like nothing better than to bump them off and to share that title here. And then you have what you mentioned in the nearly 5-decade history of the FCS playoffs. Never before has an Ivy League team been able to contribute and participate until now. So the Ivy League now has an automatic qualifier. The winner of this game is going to have a chance to play for the first time for a national championship.
Could be a two-bid league. We'll talk about that as we go along, but let's talk about two of the star players, not just in the Ivy League, but in the country. It's the Harvard quarterback, Jaden Craig first.
Jaden Craig has catapulted himself into that pantheon of the greatest Harvard quarterbacks ever. He has shattered the passing touchdown record this year, throwing for 2,500 yards, 21 touchdowns. He's had only 5 picks, and many of them were deflections. He's big, he's strong. NFL has great interest in him, we are told. And in addition to that big-time arm, he can hurt you with his legs. Hasn't run that much this year, but he can do it.
Josh Pitzenberger can hurt you with his legs. The Yale captain having another great year.
He's been tearing up the Ivy League for 4 years now. As a freshman, he was the Ivy Rookie of the Year, leading the league in rushing right now. He'll run between the tackles, but he has the power to get outside. He's got the speed to go the distance. And what the Harvard coaches told us, in order for them to win this game, they've got to stop number 7.
Pitzenberger has picked up over 1,000 yards on the ground this season, 1095 to be exact, and he is the Yale captain. Ty Bartram is the Harvard captain. These two teams have just one captain. It is one of the great honors, and they have led their teams onto the field here today, as has Andy Ulrich, now in his second season as the Harvard head coach after spending 18 years as an assistant coach. Took over last year, led Harvard to a share of an Ivy League title. This is unfinished business, according to Ulrich and this Harvard team. They want an outright Ivy League title here today. And if it's Yale and Harvard, there's always something going on. This was a few moments ago. Ulrich showing his phone saying it's time for us to go. They were waiting for Yale to take the field. And he said, we're not waiting any longer. Get on the field, Crimson.
As you said, nothing like the game, and you feel it from the time you walk into this stadium. Andy Ulrich, a handful of guys who's won 2 titles in his first 2 years.
Yale won the coin toss. They elected to defer. They kick it off to Harvard, and they're looking for a return on the opening kickoff of the game. And turning the corner, and a good return to get things going for the Crimson. Cam Henry. And Harvard will bring the offense on the field. There is a flag on the field, so we'll wait on the position of the football here for this first snap for the Crimson.
As the offense takes the field here for Harvard, the coaches said to us, here are their keys. Here's what they've got to beat
the
the
return.
blitz.
Holding. Return team. Number 8. 10-yard penalty. First down.
The voice of Todd Boyd with the call on the opening kickoff.
Todd Boyd, we should give him our congratulations, retiring after this game. It's an illustrious career as an official, and what a great way to go out with the Harvard-Yale game. Harvard offense, we've been told again by the coaches, what they've got to do is they've got to beat the blitz. This Yale defense is aggressive. It's dynamic. It gives you different looks. It loves to throw people at the quarterback here, so they know one of Jaden Craig's strengths is to get the ball out quickly. They know they're going to have to do that today.
Sun trying to peek out here for the first play from scrimmage. Rained all morning, 48 degrees at kickoff. And here's the first play as Craig throws it out to the 20-yard line to Dean Boyd. And it's a takeaway on the first play. The Yale defense is elite, and Brandon Webster has it, and Yale has it at the Harvard 20.
We talked about the aggressiveness of this Yale defense. They blitz. They'll cover you man-to-man all over the field. They feel that their guys are better than your guys. You can see Brandon Webster's been doing this all year long. Gets his arm underneath. He knew he had help bringing him to the ground and plays the ball and gives Yale that first big break here on the 21-yard line of Harvard.
7th fumble recovery for Yale this year. They are a +2 now in turnover margin. Officials are going to go to replay here to confirm the turnover. On the field, the call is a fumble. You saw clearly Webster ripping it out, but they will go up to the booth and take a look.
Now, clearly he was not down. Question would be, was his forward motion stopped? But that would have been a whistle on the field by the officials. And forward motion is not reviewable. So I think here they just want to make sure that a knee was not down when the ball came out, because it looks pretty clear to us from up here it was not. Again, if they were calling forward motion stop, there would have been a whistle, but he was still moving forward, so I don't imagine the booth is going to change this.
Jack talked about it, how aggressive Tony Reno's team is, how good they are defensively. 30.
The ruling on the field is upheld. First down, Yale.
32 sacks, 14 takeaways, and they get a takeaway on the first play from scrimmage. And Tony Reno's son comes onto the field. He is the quarterback for Yale, Dante, the sophomore who transferred from South Carolina. Josh Pitzenberger in the backfield. Reno to throw on first down. Turning up, breaking a tackle inside the 5, to the goal line, to the end zone. Jackson Santiago, touchdown Yale.
I've got to believe that Harvard defense and probably everybody else in this building thought the first play was going to Josh Pitzenberger. Dante Reno sees that there's very soft coverage out on Jackson Santiago, who is a sophomore, has really developed into a threat here on this offense. Dante Reno reads it quickly, gets it out in his hands, and lets the big 6'3" receiver do the rest of it.
We are all of 18 seconds into Harvard-Yale. Piper on for the point after, and the first year from Flower Mound, Texas, puts it through. They are still filtering into Yale Bowl, and already they've missed so much. A fumble turns into points, 21 yards. Reno to Santiago, 7-0.
The Allstate Saturday Kickoff is brought to you by Allstate. You're in good hands.
Back in New Haven, the 141st playing of the game, and Yale jumps out to a 7-0 lead over the Crimson. We talked about the traditions, and one of the great traditions, and Jack, you played at Yale. That's Josh Pitzenberger, number 7. He's the Yale captain, the only captain. It's voted at the end of each season who will be the captain for next year. Ty Bartram is the Harvard captain, but this is an emotional and special moment for these captains.
It's a great tradition. Yale team walks from the field house, which is off in the back left corner there, and the captain welcomes every one of them and basically says, good game.
Well, Jack, do you care to break down what we've seen in the first 18 seconds of this game?
I'm still trying to catch my breath. I don't think anybody expected that. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of points scored here. I don't think anybody expected it to be that quickly.
Conforti with the kick. Henry with the return, and he is hit hard at the 17-yard line. Special teams stepping up. We've seen the defense step up. And Williams on the pop on special teams.
Here's the thing about this Harvard offense. They've got 9 games under their belt. They got a lot of younger guys who hadn't played a lot before, but they're all veterans now. You get to your 10th game, and you're not a rookie anymore, and you've got number 1, Jaden Craig, in the backfield. One of his great skills and talents is his poise, so don't expect to see him panic at all.
Craig throws, incomplete. Intended for Logan Reska. We have an eye on the tight end situation for Harvard here today because Seamus Gilmartin missed the Penn game. Number 2 receiver now for Harvard, Ryan Osborne, who had an 82-yard touchdown reception in that wild win over Penn last week. He was battling an injury this week, so Reska could be the number 1. We'll see how it plays out for Harvard. Empty backfield for Craig on 2nd down and 10. Gets tripped up, falls ahead for maybe a yard, and 3rd and long coming up. Jalen Tate, junior from Atlanta, with his 28th tackle on the season.
We talked about how good Jaden Craig is, and as I said, one of the top all-time Harvard quarterbacks. But this is a very balanced offense. They've scored 22 rushing touchdowns and 22 passing touchdowns. So it's not all the Jaden Craig show, although we know how good he is. Let's see what he can do now with a 3rd and 9.
Play action on 3rd down. Gets away, has a little room to run, runs into the umpire, and that may be just enough to keep him short. It's going to depend on the spot. It is very, very close. Zarian Jackson Bass on the stop, along with Kevin Reese, who's the umpire. 4th and inches. Now, Andy Ulrich is very aggressive on 4th down, but this would be asking a little bit too much. It is 4th and short.
Yeah, you're right. We've talked to him about that. He is very aggressive. It's his nature. But look, you're already down 7-0. You don't want to do something where you're giving Yale the ball once again inside of your 30-yard line.
No wind at the moment here at the bowl. So the punt by Dylan Fingersh. Wobbly out towards midfield, and stepping up to haul it in is Santiago. Great field position again for Yale as they'll bring the offense on for a 2nd time. Well, Jack Ford, you played in the game 3 times. You would have done 4, but back in those days, freshmen weren't eligible.
Yeah, they only had the opportunity.
You look great for your age.
Thank you so much. Here's an interesting thing, all right? 150th anniversary of the first game, 140 players playing. First game played in New Haven, Hamilton Park. 2,500 fans showed up. They each paid 50 cents to get in. First college game, by the way, where they had color-coordinated outfits. And here's my favorite thing. Dozens of Harvard students were arrested in New Haven, charged with, quote, hooting and hollering in the streets. And they all paid a $5 fine. That's a lot of money back then.
Yeah. Hooting and hollering. Not outlawed here today. Here's Pitzenberger. Now this Harvard defense, we talked about the elite Yale defense. You have to use the same term for Harvard. They are 3rd in FCS football in scoring defense, 6th in FCS football in rush defense, 6th in overall total yards given up.
And that is such a testament to the quality of Coach Andy Ulrich and his coaches, because they lost most of the defense from last year. They have a ton of first-time, guys have taken snaps, but first-time real contributors, and they've been elevated to that national quality level.
Gain of 1 for Pitzenberger. 2nd down. They'll go to the ground with Pitzenberger again in the Harvard defense. You have to gang tackle Pitzenberger. He is so strong. Jaden Kinlock, the first one there. He has stepped up for this Harvard defense. 40th tackle for the senior from Plantation, Florida. Dorsey Benefield, who was the starter at linebacker, has been out with an injury. So Kinlock, one of those stepping up in his absence.
Coach Orrick told us the key to this game, they've got to get number 7 to the ground.
3rd down and 5.
Harvard showing some pressure. They play a lot of zone defense. They don't play nearly the man-to-man that you see the Yale defense play.
Reno doesn't run too much, will run right now, and did well to stay on his feet, and that effort is going to have him very close to the first down marker, and I think they're going to give him enough. They will. So a 5-yard run for the sophomore.
Very unusual. The coaches have said Dante Reno is a really talented guy, as you said, transferred from South Carolina, highly rated recruit coming out of high school here in Connecticut, but he's primarily a pocket passer. You don't see him run that much, but that, in terms of delivering a first down, was a big run by Dante Reno.
11 of 16 in the win against Princeton last week, 154 yards, no touchdowns, but he did throw 2 interceptions. This is going to be a fumble. It's on the ground, and it's wisely covered by Pitzenberger.
It was going to be a second pass.
It was originally, though, that backwards pass, so that was a live football, but you're right, Jack. They were looking to throw something downfield, but the connection wasn't there.
And he had somebody wide open. You can see behind the line so that he'd be able to throw the second pass, and hustling by Josh Pitzenberger to make sure that ball doesn't get turned over, because as you said, Eric, that was behind the line of scrimmage. But when they look at the film, they had a receiver deep, wide open.
Sean Line, number 35 for Harvard, having an outstanding season, was the first one there on the contact. A loss of 15. They get a little bit here on 2nd down out to the 49-yard line. Nico Brown, who has emerged as the number 1 receiver for Yale. Mason Shipp most likely would have been the number 1, but he's out with an injury. 53 catches now for the senior from Huntington Beach. Third and 20. Reno scrambling, in trouble, throws it. And that's going to be an incomplete pass at the 35-yard line, intended for Aiden Stevens. And Yale will punt.
Good pressure by that Harvard front. They took away, in the back end, took away Dante Reno's receivers. You saw he had time to throw, but nobody to throw to. Pressured him out of the pocket. A good defensive stand, an important defensive stand by Harvard.
Reese Kenny, sophomore from Knoxville, ready for his 32nd punt of the season, trying to pin Harvard deep. And will take a roll forward and roll out of bounds just about at the 10-yard line. And that's where Harvard will set up. So Jaden Craig will bring the offense back onto the field here. Craig, one of the best in the country, looking for an equalizer. His Harvard team is down 7-0. We're back, and Jaden Craig's looking for a big play, looking for Brady Blackburn, the leading receiver for this Harvard team. Incomplete. Webster, who had the fumble recovery on the first play from scrimmage.
Each of these teams have had a wide receiver emerge. You mentioned before, in terms of Yale's Nico Brown, how he has done it. Brady Blackburn has become the guy, replacing Cooper Barcade, who was the star last year, who graduated and now is playing for Duke. And you could see that Jaden Craig has confidence in him, airing that out and trying to get a back shoulder deep pass to him.
Fumble! Ball's free again. Battle for it. The officials are indicating Harvard recovered. It's going to be Craig at the bottom of the pile who's got it. Second time that Harvard's put the ball on the ground here in the opening minutes of the game.
You can see Jaden Craig wanted to pull that ball, and just the exchange, the sink, the mesh was not smooth. It goes off of the left hip of Excavia Bascon, his receiver. Not what you'd expect to see 10th game of the season for an offensive team.
He had to show some strength there. He was 1 against 2 trying to secure that football. Craig throws it, making the adjustments. Harvard sideline looking for a flag, not getting it. Intended for Dean Boyd. Chris White, number 20, in coverage. Harvard will punt.
What we saw there, sorry, Eric, what we saw there, three-man pattern. And the reason is Harvard needs to protect against this rush. We talked about at the beginning, Yale will send bodies from every direction after the quarterback. So kind of unusual, a 3rd and long, to see only a three-man pattern. But they needed the extra protection.
Santiago is standing at the Harvard 40-yard line waiting for the fingers punts. Chance for great field position again for the Crimson. It's a short punt. It does roll forward, though, so that benefits Harvard, but still, Yale winning the game and winning the field position battle right now.
And as we know, in these games, field position is essential here. You know, I think Yale knew that given this explosive offense, they need to try to control it, keeping them their own back of the field, that hopes that they could have good field position. They have it coming back. Yale up 7-0 at the Yale Bowl.
10th ranked, 9-0 Harvard, 25th ranked, 7-2 Yale. The automatic bid to the Ivy League, for the Ivy League to the NCAA playoffs on the line. Might have been her first Harvard-Yale game. What is this for you? This is...
Oh gosh, it's I don't have enough
I'm being
fingers
sincere
to count them. Got to be 50.
From the 43-yard line, Pitzenberger gets the carry. Well, you were here for 4,
right?
Played in 3,
and
I don't think you've missed one since your playing days.
I actually missed a couple for children's events, and everybody understood. Then I just started bringing the kids with me and made it easy here.
Give Pitzenberger 4, 2nd and 6. Yale on top. They scored on their first play from scrimmage after a takeaway on Harvard's first play from scrimmage. That's going to be incomplete. Broken up by Austin Guillory. Austin had a big game against Penn, 10 total tackles. A game where the defense was tested in Penn Harvard, 45-43.
It was like a video game. We can talk a little bit more about that. That last ball, a little bit off target, throwing a little bit behind the receiver. Good job then. Aiden Stevens is a receiver. Good job by Austin Guillory.
Pitzenberger's got it, and he's got the first down out across the 30 to the 29-yard line.
That's what Josh Pitzenberger does. You never see the first guy to hit him bring him down. We don't keep yards after contact statistics here in the Ivy League, but if you did, I'm sure his numbers would be staggering.
24 carries, 106 yards last week at Princeton. He picked up 3 first downs on the go-ahead drive in the 4th quarter. It was a 10-10 game. Yale won it 13-10 on a Noah Piper 37-yard field goal with 3:50 to go to set up this showdown with Harvard with a chance to win a share of the Ivy League championship and a spot in the FCS playoffs. Nico Brown's got it out across the 25.
It's interesting. Both of these offenses like that quick flip out there, that wide receiver screen. You got one other guy there to block for him. Nico Brown, you can take a look. You talked before about, Eric, how he had exploded. Look at what his season was coming into this and what he's done this year. So he's just had a fascinating breakout year here for the Yale wide receiver room.
Season high was 8 catches, 121 yards against Penn. 2nd down, carry by Pitzenberger will bring up a 3rd down. Ty Bartram, the Harvard captain, in on the stop.
Let me go back to the point I was making about both teams love to do that wide receiver screen. Don't be surprised. Last game of the season, they pull something out of that. Don't be surprised to see them, after they do it once or twice, fake it to the short guy. The blocker, he'll fake a block and then streak downfield. We've seen a lot of teams around the country utilize that. Don't be surprised if you see either Harvard or Yale try that sometime during this game.
3rd and 3. Yale 41% on 3rd down this season. Good for 4th in the 8-team Ivy League. Tough snap handled by Reno. Wobbly pass incomplete. Bartram in on the pressure. Let's see what Yale decides to do. They'll look for 3 points here and bring the field goal unit on.
Harvard doesn't bring nearly as much pressure as this Yale defense, but you saw 21, Ty Bartram, who's a preseason and justifiably so All-American, has a game up front. All of the Yale linemen match up with defensive linemen, and Bartram finds the space, finds the gap to put the pressure on Dante Reno and force this field goal attempt.
Yale is short a man, so they're a little late getting their personnel together. It'll be a 40-yard attempt for Noah Piper. Piper's kick is on the way, and it is good. He delivered from 37 in the win against Princeton last week. He is now 13 for 15 on the season. 10-0 Yale on top. Could not ask for more if you're Yale. You get the turnover, you get the touchdown, and now you add 3 in a game you have to get an Ivy League championship. Already, it's been a wild one here at Yale Bowl. First play from scrimmage, a turnover ripped away by Brandon Webster, and then it was a touchdown right after that on the next play for Yale. And Yale getting that touchdown here from Santiago to go on top 7-0. Another fumble, this one recovered by Craig, so Harvard held on to it, but it's the turnover. You add on the field goal, field position battle, dominated by Yale so far.
And a lot of activity and craziness, but all of it in favor of Yale.
Fair catch called for by the Crimson. Now, we talked about last week in Harvard in that wild game when they won 45-43 over Penn. When you think about this season, both these teams have had memorable field goals. This one went against Yale. Yale at Dartmouth in Hanover. Owen Zelk, a 51-yarder at the buzzer to end the game. And this is last week, Kieran Core with a career-long 53-yarder to beat Penn 45-43. So 2 50-plus yard field goals, really determining what is on the line here today between Harvard and Yale.
And if you don't think special teams are an important part, coaches will say 3 phases of the game, each equally important, and we've seen it this season with those 2 instances. You know what, Harvard just seems off, right? You and I have seen them a couple times before, and we've seen a lot of film of them all season. They just seem kind of out of sync right now. And a lot of that obviously is the Yale defense.
Craig is 1 for 5. Making 1 for 6. That one, Bascon unable to hold it.
I was about to say, you know what they got to do? They got to get some quick, easy throws. A little pitch and catch for Jaden Craig to get that some rhythm going, but the guys keep dropping the balls.
Well, you think about it for Harvard, Bascon, DJ Gordon, Jordan Harris, Isaiah Bullock, they have a really strong running back room. Not one running back has had a carry yet today. It's all been pass plays or 3 runs by Craig.
It's interesting. They seem to have gotten away from what they normally do here.
Craig to throw across the middle. That's going to help. That's completed to Ryan Tattersall, and Harvard has a first down.
Ryan Tattersall is the guy who made probably the season-saving catch last week. You can see Alvin Kamara, number 44, coming in. Abu Kamara, I should say, coming in. Abu Kamara, a preseason and mid-season All-American. He is just the leader of this defense.
Tattersall heads off. That is the first down for Harvard here today. Trying to at least flip the field here. DJ Gordon picks up about 3. Gordon with 71 carries. Bascon has carried it 112 times. Harris 42 carries. Bullock 30 carries. That is a deep room. And finally, a running back's got a touch.
And they've got a lot of talent. Coaches have said they've got all these guys could probably start in just about any other school in the Ivy League. So a lot of talent. A little bit, as you said, a surprise that we're just seeing them really now starting to carry the ball.
Play action. Craig looking deep, throwing, and incomplete. Dean Boyd was the intended receiver, and it's going to be another 3rd and long now for Harvard.
So Yale says this: we're going to put our corners on your wide receivers man-to-man. You can see the coverage right now, and he's going to run with them. And they say, we think our guys are better than your guys. We think they can cover them. So in addition to the quality of the coverage, we are then going to come after you up front and make you get rid of that ball quickly. So far in this contest, it's been the Yale defensive backs who have been winning.
They go to the ground on 3rd down and 8. Not much happening there. Bascon who's the leading rusher for this Harvard team. 571 yards total on the season. And Harvard's forced to punt. Now, I will point out in the last few minutes here, Jack, we've lost the sun a little bit more cloud covers worked in, and the breeze has picked up. And Fingers is going to be kicking into what is now a pretty strong breeze.
Yeah, this is a late November New Haven weather day, and the breeze is a factor. We can see the flags blow.
Santiago will take it at 21. So the average starting field position for Yale had been the plus 43-yard line. So at least Harvard did flip the field a little bit. Let's take a look around the CFP landscape as we count down to the CFP National Championship, brought to you by AT&T. We like to say these are the other guys.
The other championship, right?
A&M, Georgia,
there is
Ole
another.
Miss,
There is
Sooners,
another one, right?
Bama,
Other than the FCS championship.
These are the other guys. So we follow that. Jack and I are football fans. We'll be watching, but we welcome those of you who are joining us for the game, because a spot in the FCS playoffs is on the line here today. The winner gets the first ever automatic qualifier to the FCS playoffs out of the Ivy League. Pretty good play by Yale. One of those student body right plays. A lot of blocking there for Billy Dow, senior from Amityville, New York, his 60th carry on the season.
Looks like one of the old Southern California student body right or left. They seal the edge. Great pull blocking coming across. And Billy Dow, who has also been a revelation this season, has been hurt throughout the course of his career. And this 1-2 punch of Josh Pitzenberger and Billy Dow, arguably best in the league.
That's his first carry ever against Harvard, as Jack mentioned, in and out of the lineup in his career. Not much happening here, just a yard or two out across the 30-yard line. This is a Harvard team giving up, on average, 15 points a game and scoring better than 40 points a game. Down 10-0 here in the first, third down play for Yale. This is Pitzenberger territory. Most spots on the field
our Pitzenberger
are claimed by Josh Pitzenberger.
I think you're right.
Tripped up, but that's going to be enough for a first down, gain of about 2.
Talk about Pitzenberger in this Harvard defense. Harvard defense number 6 in the country in rushing defense. We know about Josh Pitzenberger. So what you got is, like the Ivy League, we can use some physics principles. We have an irresistible force against an immovable object. Harvard defense, Josh Pitzenberger, and the Yale offense.
I thought you focused on the classics in your Yale days.
I was a history major. I went nowhere near the science classic. I'm making that up. I think my daughter, Ashley, who's a surgeon, taught me that.
First down and 10. Approaching 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. Nico Brown on the sweep. The receiver looks like he's got enough for a first down. Not a lot of depth in the wide receiver room for Yale this season. Santiago and Brown, their top 2 guys. If you think about last year, it was Mason Shipp, David Pantelis, Chase Nenad, Joey Felton, but combination primarily of Santiago and Brown have gotten it done.
And that, one of the few times all season I remember seeing that wide receiver sweep, that jet sweep. Again, last game, no sense holding it back. If you've got something, throw it in now, especially if the defense hasn't seen it before.
Pitzenberger pushes forward. That is the kind of change that you have to make in your mind, I think. This always, forever has been the last game. This is not the last game. If Harvard wins, they'll keep playing, and Yale could keep playing with an at-large bid. Dartmouth is a team that is going to be very closely watching this game here today, because if Harvard wins, that might open the door for the Big Green as an at-large team. Good stick just inside the 50. It's going to be a third down and short. If Yale wins here today, they get the automatic bid. Harvard has done enough, certainly, to be an at-large bid.
I've got to believe they get an at-large bid with what they've done and how high they are ranked nationally. But as you said, Harvard wins, they go. And then the committee says, well, how about Dartmouth? How good are they? And then how about Yale? Now, Dartmouth beat Yale by that 1 point in the 51-yard field goal with no time left, but they still beat them. So it's going to be an interesting calculus for the committee come tomorrow.
Selections noon tomorrow here on ESPNU. Good hard run forward. That's enough for a first down. 4th and 6. We mentioned the Big Green taking on Brown in Providence today. Very much a team that should be considered for what they've done this season. They knocked off UNH. They knocked off Central Connecticut. Two very good teams. So we'll keep an eye on that Dartmouth-Brown score. And I know Dartmouth fans are keeping an eye on the Harvard-Yale score, which happens every year. In the past 2 years, it was to see if somebody had a share of the Ivy League title with Harvard. Reno to throw, lofts it down the sideline, and that's going to be pass interference. The flags come in. Graham Smith, the tight end, the intended receiver. This will be a first down for the Bulldogs.
What's interesting about those long plays, and coaches will talk to you, if you've got the guy streaking, and the ball was a little bit underthrown. Underthrown ball is not always a problem because it can set up a situation where, let's listen.
Pass interference. Defense. Number 21. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
So the possibility is your wide receiver who's tracking the ball, the defender is not, can read it, come back to make the catch, which he was trying to do. And the other possibility, as we saw, is the defender is overplaying it because he's not tracking that underthrown ball. And that's what we saw right now.
It was, as we saw in the replay, it was Jaden Kinlock who made contact, not Ty Bartram. They announced number 21 here in the stadium.
And he's linebacker. That's tough coverage. That's tough to ask him to run on a deep ball like that.
Should be the final play of the first quarter. First down at 10. Reno with a quick pass down to the 25. Pushing forward is Nico Brown. And that will bring a close to the first quarter. It started right from the very first play. The takeaway by Yale on defense. It turned into a touchdown for the Bulldogs. On the next play, they added a field goal. And in the game, it's all Yale after one here in New Haven. Weather not great this morning. It's not perfect now, but expecting more than 50,000 here at the Bowl because this is a historic showdown. A spot in the playoffs on the line for the first time ever in the game's history.
You know, and there'll still always be a good crowd for Harvard yet, either here or up at Harvard. But when you have this on the line, this is a huge turnout.
First play of the second quarter is a pitch to Pitzenberger. Rumbles down to about the 20. Sean Line there on the stop, but that looks like it's going to be enough for another Yale first down. That would be their 8th first down. Harvard had 1 first down in that first quarter.
And watch this, you can see, look, Josh Pitzenberger fumbles the ball out of bounds. Fortunately for Yale, it goes out of bounds. But, you know, he's just not a pounder between the tackles. You can see the quick feet allows him just to hurdle a defender there. So he has the ability to run inside, but you can see him bounce a play outside. And you see he's got a 62-yard touchdown, I think, to his credit this year. So he has the speed to break it open.
So the fumble out of bounds, has the ball at the 20-yard line. Right back to Pitzenberger. Jack talked about his durability. Came into this game with 217 carries in 9 games. That means that's 24 carries per game. That defines workhorse.
That is a lot of work. You know, his running style is such that guys don't get clear shots at him. You know, he runs, you hear people talk about running behind your pads. He's not upright. He always delivers as many blows as he receives, and I think that's also a key to his durability.
Yale in the red zone. Harvard's red zone defense has been outstanding this season, but there's room for Pitzenberger to run, hit hard inside the 10, but that's going to be another first down. Another hit by Kinlock. Pitzenberger with 7 games where he's gone for 100 or more this season. Came in with 1,095 yards. First 1,000-yard rusher for Yale since 2017. Zane Dudek went for over 1,000, and that gives him 3,000 in his career after that carry. And guess who's got it? Pitzenberger. And guess who's got another touchdown? Pitzenberger. 16-0 Yale. The 9th touchdown of his great Yale career.
Josh Pitzenberger, once again, good blocking up front, but look at his vision. The vision that he has and the patience, even down in the red zone. The patience to slide to the right, find the seam, and then it's all about his power to get into the end zone.
Piper on for the point after. So on that drive, Josh Pitzenberger joins the 3,000-yard club at Yale, and then he finds the end zone yet again.
He does, and this puts him ahead of another Yale legendary running back, John Pagliaro, one of the few two-time Ivy Players of the Year. This was back before it was offensive and defensive. So now Josh Pitzenberger has that number 2 spot all to himself. The number 1 spot is way up there, and talk about legendary, that's Mike McLeod. The great Mike McLeod, who started for 4 years here, and he's about 20 touchdowns, I think, if I know, ahead of Josh Pitzenberger. We take a look at that drive, and Yale's offense is saying, you know what we like to do, we know what we want to do, and you know what? We're going to just keep giving it to 7 until you stop it. And so far, Harvard's not been able to do that.
All right. How does Harvard respond now? Because they are down 17-0. They had to come from behind last week against Penn. This is not unfamiliar territory, but it's the game on the road. And they have just been run over here in the opening minutes.
I think what Harvard has to do is they got to bring a lot of guys back down into the box. You got to see safeties coming up now, and essentially they're going to put so many guys in the box that they're going to say to Dante Reno, let's see if you can beat us throwing.
Fair catch called for by Harvard. Bascon was back there, so let's see what this Harvard offense can do. Andy Ulrich, familiar scene for him, just trying to keep his team up, but right now they've run into a buzzsaw. We know how good Yale has been down the stretch here as the Bulldogs have won 5 in a row, but the strength of this Yale team is their defense, and they've been spotted to a 17-0 lead here.
We came into this, and you and I are talking about, all right, it's going to have to be the Yale defense to really assert themselves here, and they played well. Obviously, they played well. But what we're seeing from the Yale offense is not what I think very many people expected, except for the Yale offense.
Craig in trouble, down he goes. Who else but Ezekiel Larry, the junior from Palmdale, California. 10.5 sacks now this season. He's the leader in the Ivy League and 4th in FCS football in that category.
That's just a power rush. He just splits 2 defenders. You can see coming off of that left side. No stunts, no twists, just a power rush by Larry. As you said, 10.5 sacks now. He's been a force all season long. And Yale's been doing it with pretty much 4 defensive linemen.
This Harvard offensive line has done a great job protecting Jaden Craig all season. That's just the 8th sack allowed. Bascon is brought down. Abu Kamara, who is just simply one of the best players in FCS football, not just one of the best players for Yale. He has been a difference maker throughout his Yale career.
He's one of the best defensive players I've ever seen at Yale, and I've seen a lot of really good ones. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's talented. He was a fantastic running back in high school, and he said to the Yale coaches, no, I want to play defense. First team All-American, mid-season All-American, and earning every one of those honors.
More pressure. Craig steps up and finds a man. Big play for Harvard. Yale had the pressure. Craig stepped into a throw, and Ryan Tattersall has it. And Harvard converts on 3rd down and 18.
That was a huge play for Harvard.
Now working quickly for the first time. Craig with a little shoulder fake. Flag is thrown on the play. The pass is complete, but let's check on the penalty.
Going back to that last play, you saw Jaden Craig's talent, his ability to step up in the pocket given the pressure that he was receiving. So Jaden Craig, we'll get to the call in a second. Jaden Craig, the composure, stepped up and connects. Harvard desperately needed that to break up the momentum that this Yale defense had.
Substitution infraction. Defense. Penalty is decline. Result of the play is 2nd down.
Harvard got that play, and they had the offense run that next play very quickly, trying to find a spark, trying to turn things the other way.
You could see right there, Jaden Craig, that presence he has in the pocket, stepping up a little bit, finding some room to deliver, then an excellent pass to get them that big first down.
Craig now 4 for 10 passing on the ground. Jordan Harris, Kamara with the stick.
We talk about Abu Kamara's athleticism, his coverage, interceptions, fumbles, and that's a stick. That's a big-time hit coming up. First of all, he tracks him. He runs side to side as well as anybody in this league, maybe even the country, and then delivers the blow when he gets there.
Kamara had a 35-yard interception return for a touchdown last season at Harvard as part of that Yale victory at the stadium. Craig throwing, has a man, but just out of the reach of Caden Coughlin. Correction, Brady Blackburn, the intended receiver.
You can see Jaden Craig steps up, has a step, the receiver has a step, and he just overthrows him. Once again, Brandon Webster running with Brady Blackburn. A ball you could see. Now here's the thing, the wind is behind him now, and that might have affected, just float that ball a little bit outside of the outstretched arms of his receiver.
Here comes Yale pressure again. Craig throws underneath, and the pass is complete to Dean Boyd. Third down play coming up. Charles Barkley Smith on the stop as Harvard working quickly here. Third down play coming up, trying to keep this drive going here in Yale territory, down 17-0. Craig tucks it away, makes the move, and it's got a first down for Harvard. Remember, the Crimson had 1 first down in the first quarter, now finally finding their feet here in the second quarter.
And you're seeing the different dimensions of this Harvard offense. We mentioned at the top, Jaden Craig doesn't run a lot. He ran more in his earlier years at Harvard, but he has the ability. You see him step out of one tackle, run through another one, and get that first down.
Craig, incomplete. Flag comes in. Dean Boyd, the intended receiver. Kamara there on the coverage.
Let's see what they're looking at there, because if they're looking at a targeting and it gets number 4 off the field for Yale, that is an enormous swing here. Harvard's wide receivers have got to make some plays. You've got to hang on to the ball. Some wide receiver has to show that he can beat the press coverage, this tight man-to-man coverage that Yale's throwing.
Personal foul, targeting, defense, number 4. Previous play is under further review.
Kamara shows what he thinks about that call, but it will be determined by replay review. And this, from the first look, Jack, to me it looks like probably will not be upheld.
Yeah.
We'll slow it down coming across the middle.
Remember, at this point in time, the wide receiver is considered a defenseless player. So now what you do is if you have that contact to the head and neck area of a defensive player, and
the helmet does move.
It does move, but
Sure
it has
does.
to be forcible contact to the head and neck. So if you have a glancing blow, and you can see, now he's not leading, it's not contact with Abu Kamara's helmet itself, right? That's a different category here. So the question is, are they going to look at this and call this forcible contact to the head and neck? You know, I would think, Eric, that they would look at this and say, yeah, was there a blow? Did it come into contact with the face mask? But was that what the rule is contemplating when they're talking about that forcible contact to the head and neck of a defenseless player? Clearly, this is a huge call for a lot of reasons. It gets Harvard very close into the red zone here if it's upheld, and it'll be an enormous blow to the Yale defense if their leader, Abu Kamara, is off of the field because of this call. So they're taking a good hard look at it in the review booth.
Kamara with 59 total tackles. Had a big hit on the Princeton quarterback, Kai Cologne, in that tight game against Princeton that led to an interception by his teammate Josh Tarver to put that game away. Simply put, he is a difference maker for this Yale defense, and it would make such a huge difference if his game comes to an end right now with this targeting call. Will it be upheld by video review?
Taking a good long look at this, which obviously they should.
Kamara has 2 defensive touchdowns this season. We told you about the touchdown against Harvard last season. This is
an enormous Yale crowd here on the edge of their seats, trying to see, all right, which way is this play going to go, and is number 4 going to be taken off the field here because of this call? Again, remember, nowadays, as opposed to last year, there is one call that comes from the booth here. Whether it's upheld or not, you don't go into what we had in the past where, there was, yes, it's confirmed, or we're not sure, so we'll stay with it. So we'll have to see what the result is. A lot of time by the booth, taking a careful look at this. So you can see right there, targeting criteria. And remember,
after review, there is no targeting. Result of the play is second down. Number 4 will remain in the game.
2 things. One, it's a pro-Yale crowd. You heard that cheer, but I was just watching the Yale players, Jack, and they all celebrated. They
absolutely
know how big that call was for this team and how important he is for their success.
Yeah, it's again, we talked about overstatements before. It's impossible to overstate the value that number 4 has to this defense and to the entire team because of his presence and play.
So the nickelback stays in the game. Here is Bascon, and Bascon's got a good carry. Got past Kamara, actually, and he has a strong run. Little pumped up at the end of it. First down for Harvard.
Bascon, the leader in that running back room. We've talked about him before. People say he's not big. Well, he's not tall. He is solid. He's 200 and some pounds. He bench presses 350. Look at him run through these tackles. Leg strength, upper body strength. And you can see he's trying to light a fire under this Harvard offense.
Billy Eastep, sophomore strong safety, was the one who eventually got the stop. First to 10, Craig. Tattersall's had a big game for Harvard, and he's got a Harvard touchdown. The Crimson are on the board.
Jaden Craig showing you why he is certainly one of the favorites for the league player of the year. Getting Harvard out of their offensive doldrums. You knew, having seen this team, that they were not going to stay down for this entire game.
Kieran Core on for the point after, the hero of the win against Penn last week with the 53-yard field goal to win it. Adds on the point after. Craig looking Tattersall's way the whole way. And Ryan Tattersall, the first year from Delaware, hauls it in to get Harvard on the board. You always like spicy storylines for the game, Jack Ford. I got one for you. The Tattersall brothers. Ryan just scored the touchdown. His older brother Robbie getting set to take the field on special teams here for Yale. Why is Ryan wearing crimson?
The answer is because he didn't want to play where his brother was playing. If you got brothers, you know that. They love each other to death. They'll also fight each other. But the idea is saying, he's there, I'll pick another place to go, the place where I will wear crimson.
And Ryan's got a touchdown, his second of the season. Had a good game against Penn last week, 5 catches, 67 yards. Gets Harvard on the board as Core set to kick it away.
He's another of those receivers that has emerged in the back end of the season for Harvard.
Core's got plenty of leg, as we saw last week against Penn when he booted the 53-yarder. That's going to go for a touchback. Coming up 3:30 Eastern on ABC and the all-new ESPN app, Arch Manning, 17th-ranked Texas hosting Arkansas. And at 7:30 Eastern tonight, 20th-ranked Tennessee will be in Gainesville to take on Florida in the Swamp.
See Arch Manning, what he's done, 63%. He's elevated his game. You know, extraordinary pressure on in the beginning, way too much than it should have been. He's elevated his game now. Has Texas, again, coming off a loss. They've got to bounce back here and see what they can develop for the rest of this season.
That was our Fansville College Football Update, brought to you by Dr. Pepper. See Arch coming up later. Right now we've got Yale and Harvard. Harvard has already clinched at least a share of the Ivy League title. What they're playing for today is an outright title, which they were denied by Yale last year at Harvard Stadium.
And they remembered that. We tried to talk to a lot of these guys about to congratulate them when we were talking to the captain, Ty Bartram, and essentially it was, no congratulations. We're not finished yet. Our season is not over.
Second and 7. Reno with the throw to the outside, turning inside for a first down is Jackson Santiago, the sophomore from Bakersfield, California. Came in with 36 catches, second on the team. 9 catches last year as a freshman. Really has had to elevate his game. You talked about Nico Brown before. Santiago is the other one in that wide receiver room who has stepped up this season.
And that play was the same one that Santiago took in for a touchdown. Harvard's playing pretty soft on the wide receivers, and receiving now they're pushing up at least on the right side, soft on the left side.
Reno off balance, throws it up, looking for Brown. He's got it, breaks the tackle. He's in for another Yale touchdown.
Nico Brown, how about a national coming out party for this explosive player? Trips on the feet of the defenders, and from up in the booth here, I was wondering, as Aiden Benson is on him, wondering, is he going to go down or is the pass going to be overthrown because of that stumble?
Piper adds the extra point, 64 yards as Reno throws his second touchdown of the game. That gives him 16 touchdown passes in his first season with Yale.
And I'll tell you what, you can see that ball, how well it's thrown, and it puts Yale once again up ahead 24-7 in the game at the Yale Bowl.
What a dream this is for father and son. Tony Reno, who has had great success here in 13 seasons now as the head coach at Yale. His son starring here in the game in his debut against Harvard.
And they talked when his son wanted to transfer from South Carolina. He spent 2 years there. And basically, his son Dante said, I want to come play for you. And Tony said, are you sure? And he said, this is where I want to be. You could see his background, Cheshire Academy in Connecticut, went down to South Carolina. It was said before, this is really, he's had 2 years of no meaningful snaps. Now, there are a lot of other positions on the football field where you can kind of make up very quickly. Quarterback is not one of them. If you haven't taken meaningful snaps in 2 years, you've got to work back into your rhythm in your games. And one of the things he kind of struggled a little bit early on was deep balls.
Not there. Not there. 64 yards to Nico Brown. Kicking into the breeze and a fair catch called for. You saw some of the photos of Dante Reno through the years. I want to take you way back because if you think about it, Tony's now here for 13 years, coming here to Yale Bowl as a kid, and now you're on the field against Harvard in the game.
Isn't that, I mean, I can't imagine how exciting that would be. I brought both of my kids, daughter and son, to the Yale Bowl when they were little, and they walked the bulldog around. They both came here. They both played lacrosse, but they weren't on the football field here. But just what a magnificent situation and story that is for the Reno family.
Just when Harvard looked like they were turning the tide in this game, Reno throws the touchdown pass to stretch it out to a 24-7 lead. Pressure again on Craig. Put on by Zarion Jackson Bass, shoving him out of bounds. Craig threw the incomplete pass, second down coming up.
Interesting what you saw there is they want to get Jaden Craig out of the pocket. There's been so much pressure coming at him from the sides and the middle. So they pull an offensive lineman and get him rolling to the outside to try to avoid some of that pressure, but there was nobody open for him to deliver the ball to.
Craig's got it. He's looking deep, but little miscommunication, and perhaps there was a little contact. A flag is thrown on the play. Blackburn stopped around midfield. This may be a hold against Yale. Let's see.
So apparently the wide receivers were reading it differently from Jaden Craig. You know, you have a sort of an option route. You see what the coverage looks like. You either then pull up short or then you take it deep, depending on the coverage. If the quarterback and the wide receiver are not reading the same thing, then you end up with a ball overthrown like that. But let's see what sort of call we get.
Pass interference on Yale is the initial indication. You mentioned Todd Boyd officiating his final game. Bob Schober, line judge, also retiring after today's game.
Pass interference. Defense. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
We're not sure who the call was on, so it's kind of difficult for us then to figure out up here what happened. Obviously, that was a vastly overthrown ball, so there's always a question as well, was it uncatchable? But again, it might have been the situation where the interference kept the receiver from getting there. The interference is nowhere near where the ball ended up coming down, so it has to have been early on in the routes that the receivers were running.
Harvard goes with a trick play. It's in the hands of Cam Henry, and Yale is ready for him. Henry, an outstanding sprinter. Micaiah Shaber, the senior from Peachtree, Georgia, leading the way on the stop.
Henry, you said a legit track star. But you know what? You had enough Yale guys on the outside that they had the right eye discipline. They didn't get sucked into the other side. So that had the potential with a guy with Henry's speed to be a big play. Yale played it well.
Bascon has it. Yale has him. Going to be a loss on the play. Shaber again.
One of the things the Yale defense said coming into this game, they've got to win the early downs. That first down, that second down, to keep Harvard from being in a third and short position. And so far, they've been pretty effective doing that.
It was a slow start for Harvard. They showed signs of building things their way, but now facing a third down and long again, 3rd and 9. Craig throws the out on targets. Going to depend on the spot. It's going to be very close. Brady Blackburn's got it. And they say it's enough for a first down. Webster on the coverage.
So Webster a little bit upset. There was a little bit of uncertainty and confusion in the Yale defense there at the snap of the ball.
Yale working quickly. Back to Bascon. Down to the 45. Harvard back into Yale territory. Pass interference call, very helpful on this drive.
Harvard needs not to panic. They're saying, all right, look at the score, 24-7, but they've scored a lot of points in every one of their games this season.
Big hole for Bascon, and a good run. Still going. Never went down. Bench loves it. Gain of 12.
Not only did he never go down, but watch the blow he delivers as he finishes this run. He's tucked in. 1, 2, 3 tackles he runs through. Another. And then bang. And just finishing that run, and it gets the Harvard sideline fired up.
You saw that first stiff arm was on Kamara. Reska's got the reception.
I would expect to see the Harvard offense start utilizing those tight ends a little bit more. Quick passes to the tight ends, out slants. Again, they have to counter this pressure by this aggressive Yale defense.
Second down with Harris in the backfield. Craig has got it on the run. Craig turns the corner on his feet to the end zone. Touchdown.
Jaden Craig. You can see, looked like a planned run up the middle. Did he step out of bounds? No, it looks like he kept that foot in. But we talked about his ability. He is an excellent runner. This year they haven't used him. They said they didn't need to. They didn't want to expose him to the hits. But he showed you right there what he is capable of doing when they decide to utilize his running skills.
Second rushing touchdown of the season for the senior from Montclair, New Jersey, as Core comes on for the point after. Jaden Craig with a 26-yard touchdown run. Hooked up with Tattersall on the 23-yard touchdown pass in this quarter. Now adds it on the ground, tiptoeing on the sidelines, just staying inside the 5, finding his way just barely into the end zone. 10-point game. Andy Ulrich's team has scored at least 31 points in every game this season, so you know they're not going away. And the crowd, big crowd, continues to file into Yale Bowl. Turned 111 yesterday. Happy belated birthday.
1914, built at the time the largest sports stadium in the country, held 70,000 originally. You can see now the 6th oldest in the nation. First stadium with this bowl-shaped design. Other ones that have done the same design, the Rose Bowl, of course, Los Angeles Coliseum, and Michigan Stadium. Same kind of design, designated National Historic Landmark, as are those other stadiums. So it just, legendary things have happened here, including the Eagles and, yes, doing concerts here.
Broadway Joe played here. The Giants, the New York Football Giants, played their home games here for a couple of years while Yankee Stadium was being
for 2 years
back in the 70s.
They played here, and what angered me about it is they came in and they refurbished all the lockers. I had just graduated, so I still had the old chicken wire 2x4 locker. I didn't have what Broadway Joe had to get changed.
Well, we know Harvard could score points. The question is, can they stop Yale? They've been unable to do so here today. Bulldogs have scored on their last 3 drives, and on all 3 drives, I should say, and that's booted out the end zone for a touchback. Tuesday night, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on ESPN and the all-new ESPN app. We'll have the exclusive reveal of the next college football playoff top 25 rankings. Reese and the crew will break it down from top to bottom, coaches' reactions, and a live interview with committee chairman after coming up on Tuesday nights. Also projection of the 12-team fields. Take a look at the rankings. Ohio State, Indiana at the top. Ohio State taking on Rutgers today. We take a look at this week's college football playoff rankings, brought to you by VRBO. As you saw there, big run on first down for Dowell.
This is an important possession for both of these teams because, look, we knew coming into this, Harvard was never going to lay down. That's not who they are and what they've done this season. So Yale jumps out. Harvard starts coming back. This is now important for Yale. They've got to sort of stifle that momentum that you saw from the Bascon run and then the Jaden Craig run. They've got to move the chains a few times to keep this going.
As we saw, especially last week for Jaden Craig and Harvard, you do not want to leave much time on the clock at the end of this half if you're Yale, because they can score quickly, as we saw Craig do against Penn last week. First down and 10. Reno with time, looking at another deep ball, making the adjustment, and making the catch again is Nico Brown. 32 yards.
Nico Brown having a day for himself. Again, plenty of time for Dante Reno to step into the pocket, and he does what we talked about before, just underthrow the deep ball a little bit because the receiver is tracking it. He has the ability to stop and step back and make the play. Great throw, better catch.
This is the first time Nico Brown has dressed for a Harvard game in his career. 6 catches, 122 yards for the senior. Jack talked about it before. No catches before this season. Appeared in 1 game in 2022, was injured in 2023, 3 games in 2024, and he is having a day against Harvard here today.
And again, it illustrates what we see in this Ivy League. They develop players. It's not a league where you're going to bring in a dozen guys in the portal. You get some transfers coming in and out. But we've seen this throughout the course of our season here, where guys that just didn't get a chance to play, when they did get their chance, they have the ability to shine.
To the ground to Pitzenberger. Pitzenberger is going to be stopped just short, and Yale shouldn't be in a hurry here because the clock can tick down to the 2-minute timeout. Harvard's defense giving up yards and points to Penn last week. Yale this week. 24-14 Yale with 2 minutes to go in the first half in the 141st playing of the game. First time I'm saying this. It is the last day of the regular season in the Ivy League. Forever, this has been the last day of the season. So we have our eye on the out-of-town scoreboard. This is the big one. Dartmouth 4-2 in the Ivy. They don't have a chance for a share of the Ivy League title, but they are hoping for Yale to lose to Harvard today, because that would open the door if Dartmouth can beat Brown, but Brown trying to play the role of spoiler down in Providence. Remember, the last 2 seasons, Dartmouth was rooting for Yale to beat Harvard so Dartmouth could get a share of the Ivy League title. Little different this year. They want Harvard to win today, and that means Dartmouth's odds would shoot up for getting an at-large bid into the FCS playoffs. Pitzenberger, you need a hard yard, maybe 2. You go to Pitzenberger, and he picks up the first down.
Let me go back to what we said before about Josh Pitzenberger. First guy, doesn't bring him down. He always has yards after contact. You see him coming off.
Shoe off.
Oh, shoe off. For a Yale fan, that's good. But you saw him get hit behind the line of scrimmage, and yet he still launches himself forward to get that first down. If you're Yale, you want that shoe back on, and you want him back out on the field very quickly.
Billy Dial out there in his place. That's been a big drop-off with Dow in the backfield for Yale this year. He is hit hard by Sean Line. After a gain of a couple. Line has been outstanding. The junior from Stockholm, New Jersey, the team leader in tackles. Played in 2 games last season, had 1 tackle, battled a hamstring injury, but he has been the go-to guy for Harvard, number 35.
Yeah, he's been their leader there. They have a history of quality, talented linebackers. They have guys who can run side to side. They can fill gaps. They can drop back in pass coverage. We got a timeout here by Harvard. And Sean Line, the next in this long line, if you would, of these. Sorry, I stumbled into that. That wasn't intentional. But I think what was curious, you and I talked about this before, Harvard graduated their top 5 linebackers. Top 5. And now they have a group that some of the Harvard coaches have said we might even be better than last year. With all of the Sean Line, 1 or 2 guys missing, but a lot of talent in that second level.
Well, I know you've discussed this with defensive coordinator Scott Larkey in the past. We have become accustomed to a lot of players getting on the field on defense for Harvard. So they get a little taste of it earlier in their careers, waiting for a moment like this where you're counted on as the guy you're seeing.
And that's a really good point. You might not be the starter, but you've had some meaningful snaps.
Pitzenberger's got the shoe back on. He's out there after the Harvard timeout. 2nd down and 7. Flag is thrown. Yale has struggled with penalties this season, last in the Ivy League.
Ball start. Offense. Number 73. 5-yard penalty. 2nd down.
Given 83 yards a game up in penalties. 2nd penalty called on Reno's team today.
No. Harvard's trying to save some time themselves using their timeouts. They'd like to get the ball back. Eric, you've mentioned they've been really good in little time situations throughout the course of the season.
2nd and 12. Pitzenberger pushes things forward. Harvard certainly will take another timeout here, and they get it, stopping the clock with 1:24, trying to leave as much time as possible on the clock. While the teams huddle up, I want to give you a chance to pay tribute to one of the all-time greats who played here at Yale, your former teammate, Dick Duran, who passed away back in February. Big loss for not just the Yale family, but college football world.
For Yale, the Ivy League, college football, the NFL, Dick Duran, first-team All-American here at Yale, a National Football Foundation scholar athlete, the College Football Hall of Fame. He was so smart. He could have done anything, but he loved football. So he went into coaching. NFL, successful career. NFL Coach of the Year one year with the Chicago Bears. Dick Duran was a teammate. He was a dear friend. Our lockers were right next to each other for a number of years here. And when you see, that's in the old days, talking about the old days, but Dick Duran, and anybody who knew him would tell you, a fantastic athlete. He was captain of the Yale baseball team. He was a baseball MLB draft choice. But people will tell you the thing about Dick Duran is you will never find a better man than Dick. So Dick, love you, brother. Rest in peace.
Well said, Jack. 3rd down and 8 for Yale. Harvard brings some pressure. Reno floats one up. Some contact, but that, well, flag comes in. That ball was sailing well out of the end zone. Nico Brown, the intended receiver. Henderson there in the coverage.
So it goes back to what we talked about before, throwing that deep ball when you get one-on-one coverage.
Pass interference, defense, number 7. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul, the 7-yard line, 1st down.
Check, this throw airmailed the end zone.
Yeah, he
and
obviously,
nobody's catching this ball, are they?
Well, again, the officials could say, look, if you don't interfere with his progress, maybe he would have had a chance, but that's what we talked about before. Put the ball up there. Give your guy a chance. If not, maybe give the official a chance to pull a flag out and throw it. You know, go back and see what the official has to say. You know, while they're working this out, you go back to the legendary Woody Hayes. Remember who used to say, you put the ball up in the air, 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are bad? Clearly, he was the 3 yards in a cloud of dust kind of guy. But in modern offenses, it's let's put him up. Let's see what happens. Either your guy catches it, or maybe you get a pass interference call.
Had to move the Yale center, Leo Bloom, and the football back a little bit. And they've got it spotted now. 1st down and goal with 1:19 to go in the first half. Pitzenberger up the middle. Stopped at the 4.
This is a situation where offensive line, the quarterback, you don't do huddles anymore, but basically you're saying, all right, guys, this is your time. We have to push this in. Your job to assert yourself here. Big boy football. On the other side, Harvard has to say, this is important. We got to assert ourselves. We got to show who we are, and we do that right now by stopping this offense.
Pitzenberger up to 17 carries, and we're still in the first half. We told you he's averaging 24 totes a game. Coming up at halftime, get you to the studio for plenty to keep an eye on as Jack and I will catch our breath because this one went from 0 to 60 in a blink.
It did.
Fumble on the first play from scrimmage. Touchdown pass for Yale on the second play from scrimmage in this game.
There are people still coming in from the tailgates, and I imagine they're walking in and they're looking up and saying, what? 24-14, how can that be? We were still tailgating outside. You can see Yale students having a pretty good old time here. Big group of Harvard students. You know what's interesting is both Harvard and Yale are now on their Thanksgiving break. So all of these students are staying just for this game.
2nd down and goal after Harvard used their final timeout. Pitzenberger, second effort got close. Sean Line kept him short of the end zone. 3rd and goal coming up.
Sean Line, as good as he is, somebody looking at this as a touchdown. Now let's see, he does not go down. It looks like his body, you can see his body's on top of Sean Line's, and the question is, did that ball cross the plane?
I don't think the nose of the football got to the goal line.
From this angle, it doesn't look like it did. But how many times have we said the first guy is just not going to stop Josh Pitzenberger? He has that combination of power and balance. that allows him to finish all of these runs. Let's take another look. This will be a better angle.
Timeout call by Yale.
Timeout of the half.
He's well short.
Yeah, I think you're clearly short.
Pittsburgher now 18 carries, 74 yards. He has not been hit for a loss today. 74 net yards. Jack and I talked about it right from the very start. First play from scrimmage, pass completion, but then ripped away by Brandon Webster, cornerback for Yale on the next play. Touchdown pass. Reno to Santiago, and Yale is on top 7-0. They would jump out to a 17-0 lead before Harvard would get on the board. Nico Brown hauled in a 64-yard touchdown to put Yale in front 24-7. Jaden Craig answered back with a 26-yard touchdown run, but before halftime, Yale trying to add to their lead, and they will receive the second half kickoff. High snap, Pitzenberger brought down short of the end zone. What's the decision here for Yale, Jack Ford? Do you try to punch it in on 4th and goal?
If I had to guess, I'd say Yale coach is saying this is Harvard-Yale. This is for a championship. This is for a shot at a national championship. If we can't punch it in from here, maybe we don't deserve it, so let's go with it.
You know what Coach Pitzenberger is telling the sideline to do. He'll take a timeout with 3 seconds to go. Pitzenberger was like, let's go. Let's get a play in. We want to go for it here. And
you know,
he wants the football.
They want to go. And you got to believe that whole offense is saying, let's do it. You know, if it was a closer in scores, 10 points, all right. If it was tied or a 3-point difference, I could see the coaches saying, let's get some points here. But this, you know, you're looking for a defining moment if you're Yale. And maybe you look at this as the defining moment. You can see the coaches talking about it.
Chris Ostrowski is the offensive coordinator, so he was conferring with assistant coaches, and now he'll come in with the play. The offensive coordinator is bringing the play.
All right, so what do you do? 4th and goal from that point? Do you give the ball to number 7? I'm pretty sure you do. If you had different in the past, Nolan Grooms was a great player, 2-year player of the year. You could see him putting it in his stomach and pulling it and taking it himself. It's not what Dante Reno does, but maybe they might opt to do that.
Reno has used the jump pass successfully this year. Let's see what they do on 4th down and goal. Reno's got it. Pitzenberger forward. Touchdown. The official on the far sideline had his arms up early. There was a little bit of a delay in the scrum, and then the crowd made their noise. Pitzenberger wanted to go for it on 4th down. He wanted the football, and the captain pushes it in for the score.
And over the top, not something you see often from him, that launch. You know what? There are times in a football game where a team has to say, this is who we are. We're going to show you who we are right now. And that was it. Now, it looks like they might be taking a look at this. Officials are running over. Yeah, remember, if they're going to on the field, it's called a touchdown. To overturn it, it has to be clear and obvious video evidence to change this call.
I love Reno with the little pat on the back shove, like, go get it, Captain.
Go do it. This is your game. Give the ball to 7, and 7, you make it happen. I can't imagine from that mass of humanity there that there would be any angle.
And you can see the official through the arms and everything on the far side with his arms up for the touchdown. Yep. So he had the angle. We've got a lot of bodies with our replays there to look through, but for the moment, it's a touchdown for the senior captain.
The ruling of a touchdown is upheld. Touchdown.
Point after coming. Zeros on the clock as Pitzenberger on 4th down takes it in for the touchdown.
Eric, I think your point was important that official immediately signaled touchdown from that angle.
Here's Piper for the point after. It's good. And Yale is great in the first half in the game. They scored on their first play from scrimmage. They scored on the last play from scrimmage in the first half. Harvard on the season giving up on average 15 points per game. They gave up 31 points in the first half.
You can see they haven't done that since back in 2004 against Brown. Josh Pitzenberger coming into the field from the field house, gave everybody a congratulating hands out, and I'm sure saying to them, we got a lot more to go, boys, in the game right now. Harvard trailing Yale 31-14 at the Yale Bowl.
Back in New Haven, the 141st playing of the game, and Yale back on the field with a 31-14 lead over Harvard. Eric Freed, Jack Ford back here with you. Over these last several years, Yale has been a team that has played their best football in the final weeks of the season. They have built up to the game. I don't know if anybody could have predicted what we saw in the first half, Jack.
No, I don't think people would have been surprised if it was close, because Yale has been strong all year, great defense, Harvard overwhelming all year, but nobody, I don't think, expected Yale to jump out. And essentially what they've been doing is Yale has been winning all of the one-on-one matchups here and takeaways to start the game. We've seen from the very beginning where Harvard completes a pass, Yale takes it away, and then Yale now and going deep downfield, which is something they're not really known for. But as you said before, the Yale guys are making the one-on-one plays so far.
Nico Brown with the big touchdown catch. Lots of smiles here at the bowl at halftime, but still plenty of time to go. Second half kickoff. Yale will receive when we come back. Welcome back to the All-State Saturday kickoff as we get set for the start of the second half here under sunny skies at Yale Bowl in New Haven. Eric Freed, Jack Ford back with you. Yale to receive the second half kickoff. Kieran Core gets a leg into it. Breeze continues to pick up here at the back of Harvard here in this third quarter, so that sails through for a touchback, and Yale will bring the offense onto the field, led by Dante Reno. Jack, 9 of 12 passing, 155 yards for Reno. He averages 196 yards per game. That was a big half for the first year
and a little
player.
bit unexpected.
Yeah.
Harvard said we got to stop number 7. They didn't think that Dante Reno was going to be the guy to hurt them as much as he has so far, but he has truly stepped up so far first half of this game.
Yale scored on 5 of their 6 possessions in the first half against this Harvard defense. Reno with the quick pass outside. Another one of those one-on-one wins. A move to get extra yardage for Nico Brown. Brown in the first half, 6 catches, 122 yards. You take a look at the numbers from the first half. Just as the third game this year that Harvard has trailed in. They trailed Princeton for all of 3 minutes and 32 seconds. They trailed Penn last week. It was 27-14, by the way, in that game in the second quarter before Harvard came back to win.
How do you know all these things? I love being next to you.
I just listen to
all
you.
of these stats.
I just listen to Story Time with Jack. It's my favorite time of the day. Not much happening there for Pitzenberger. Now our research department's getting in and one-upping me, apparently. All right, I see what you guys are doing there in the truck. Got to go back to 2006.
Huge
type of comeback that Harvard needs.
Huge third down now. Yale needs to keep the ball and keep their momentum, not turn it over to Harvard.
Reno with a quick pass right at the line to gain, and that will move the chains. Santiago with the reception. Dante Reno has now completed 8 passes in a row, Jack.
He is. I've seen a lot of his games this year, and people talked about talent, but he's going to have to develop and grow into it. But he is as good today as I have seen him all year long.
Back to the ground for Pitzenberger, who turns it inside. Takes it out to the 41-yard line. Pitzenberger in the first half, 21 carries, 75 yards. Came in averaging 121 yards a game, good for 5th in FCS football.
So far, Yale has been winning these early downs. We talked about the Harvard coaches said, no, we have to stop in early downs. Yale has been asserting themselves primarily because of that guy, number 7, winning those early downs.
Good gain by Pitzenberger, another first down.
Pitzenberger once again running through tackles to establish this first down for Yale. Yale, I said before, have to move the chains a couple of times. Continue the momentum they had in that first half, not let down in the second.
Billy Dowell picks up a yard. Alex DeGreek, one of the leaders up front, number 79, the senior from Rochester, Minnesota, sack leader on this team. We talked about how Harvard has protected Craig this season. Well, that Yale offensive line has done a great job with Dante Reno in his first year as Yale's quarterback, giving up just 7 sacks this season, tied for the league lead with Harvard. This helps as well when you get rid of it quickly like Reno has been doing. Another third down play coming up. Santiago has the reception.
Yale has been so good. Dante Reno sees that soft coverage on the edges, and Harvard has been, they don't play a lot of press man-to-man. They're not that kind of a defense. They have a lot of talent back there, but we're seeing now you're getting some press on the left side here, but again, a little bit of a cushion on the right side. Let's see what Dante Reno does with it. Changing up the call here as they had a chance to see what it looked like Harvard might be doing with their defense. Looked like Ty Bartram might have been coming to put some pressure on.
Here comes the blitz. It's picked up. Reno just throws it up for grabs, and making the adjustment again is a Yale receiver. It's Santiago for the first down. 29 yards.
So far for Dante Reno, this has been a clinic on how you get the ball to your wide receivers on deep patterns. I get first key, time to do it, although somebody got in his face. Underthrown, deep ball, receiver makes the adjustment, defender can't, first down.
Pitzenberger, a couple of touchdown runs in the first half. 36 career touchdown runs for the senior captain, second on the all-time list in Yale history. You mentioned the great Mike McLeod, far and away #1 with 54 in his Yale career.
Mike had a spectacular career. I got to know him a lot. He and my son were in the same class, same groups together. I tell you what, I've seen a lot of Josh Pitzenberger over the 4 years. I don't think I've ever seen him run as much as a man possessed as he's doing in this game today.
Playing against Yale will have that effect on you. Reno on the run. Reno tucks it and is tripped up inside the 5. Damian Henderson came up to make the stop, and he's slow to get up. And he'll leave the field.
And he's a big loss for them. He has been one of their tackling leaders, one of their interception leaders. Dante Reno, number 2, we said in the very beginning, he doesn't run very much. But we've seen so far today a couple of instances where he's used his legs judiciously, made the smart decision not to try to throw the ball up into the air, and generated some positive yards. So I think we're seeing the maturation, the development of Dante Reno as a quarterback.
Another third down. Yale 7 of 10 on third down. Pitzenberger breaks a tackle, breaks through, and is in again for another Yale touchdown.
So watch this hit in the backfield. Looks like they have him nailed. 2 guys have shots at him. But we talked about his power and his vision and the quick feet he has to adjust his running lanes.
Piper with the extra points. Yale scores on their first possession of the second half to extend their lead. Bulldogs need a win to earn a share of the Ivy League championship and the automatic bid to the FCS playoffs. Pittsburgher getting it done. Kickoff Week 12, NFL Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern with the Countdown crew on ESPN and also on the all-new ESPN app. All the early breaking stories, injury updates, and more right up to kickoff. And Monday Night Football, this is where I'm supposed to say Christian McCaffrey, but instead we're doing the game, so I'm saying Kyle Juszczyk.
Absolutely. Kyle Juszczyk, the all-pro fullback for the 49ers, had been an all-Ivy tight end for Harvard here, so let's give him a good pitch.
I throw that in there because I know it's Harvard-Yale, so I'm mentioning the Harvard guy who's leading the 49ers against the Panthers. 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN. Deportes and the all-new ESPN app. Peyton and Eli will be on ESPN2. Coverage starts with NFL Live at 3 Eastern. Scott Van Pelt and the Monday Night Countdown crew at 6 Eastern time. Here's the Harvard and Yale NFLers.
Let me tell you something. The Ivy League has been putting average 20, 22 guys on NFL rosters to start every season. There is good quality football being played here, and you're seeing quality depth now being developed by the Ivy League teams. So that's a good indication. You and I talked all week about. Here's the question: is the Yale defense going to be able to keep up with the Harvard offense? Jaden Craig had been leading this offensive, explosive team all season long. I don't think we ever thought the question would now be, can the Harvard offense do something against the Yale defense?
Well, it's obvious that the Harvard offense can't have empty possessions because the Yale defense can't be stopped right now.
Again, we talked at the beginning of the half. All right, very important. Yale get the ball first. That they at least move the sticks a few times, create some momentum. Don't give up. Don't cede that momentum to Harvard. They just took it and went down the length of the field. Josh Pitzenberger in the end zone one more time.
Gain of 5 on first down for Gordon. Here's Craig to throw on second down and 5. Plenty of time. Flag comes in, most likely holding, so we'll hold off on this play. Tattersall with the reception, but it's coming back.
Holding. Offense. Number 77. 10-yard penalty. Second down.
Spencer Doan gets whistled for the holding penalty.
Saw Coach Andy Orrick just kind of shaking his head. Plenty of time. That's one of the few times that Jaden Craig has had plenty of time to deliver the ball. One of the reasons he had plenty of time might have been because of the hold. That occasionally factors into it. But it's what we said before. Harvard just seems to be out of sync and certainly on their heels.
Craig on play action. Gets rid of it. Had to get rid of it quickly. More flags fly, and this is going to go against Yale. Roughing the passer penalty coming against the Bulldogs. Craig is still down.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Defense. Number 2. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Jaden Craig being looked at. Appears that he's okay. Ezekiel Elliott was putting the pass rush on. We talked before, he's got 10.5 sacks. He has been their dominant force. You can see him works his way, spin move to the inside, and it's that arm to the helmet, to the head. And Elliott puts his hands up saying, no. But whenever an official sees that contact to the head of the passer, whenever you see that head, that arm to the passer's head, they're going to call it. Ezekiel Larry has had a fabulous year. You know, he had a great freshman year. He left here, went to San Diego State for a year, and then realized this was the place for him, came back. And since he got back here, Ezekiel Larry has just been tearing it up for this Yale defense.
Craig to the sidelines. Dante Torres in at quarterback, 7 of 12 this season. And Torres to throw and completes it to Dean Boyd, who is brought down after picking up a first down. So keep an eye on that Harvard sideline to see if they stick with the junior from East Northport, New York. or if Craig comes back in. And here comes Craig back onto the field after Torres throws the completion.
If he's okay medically, he's not going to stay off of that field. He's that kind of a competitor.
First down for Craig. Scrambling, hit again, and the pass is incomplete. Intended for Dean Boyd. Craig was on the move again. And Uniden Ayodura-Ajayi on the pressure.
You can see right now, floating to the side, trying to extend the play, and 24 comes in like a rocket and affects that throw. The pressure, they've had pressure coming from the edges, from the middle. When Jaden Craig gets out to the outside, somebody's out there in his face. He has had very few opportunities to throw a clean pass.
Ayodura-Ajayi, a four-year fixture on the defense for Yale. Craig throwing deep's got a man off the hands of the usually sure-handed Brady Blackburn, the leading receiver for Harvard.
That's just so tough for 19. As you said, he has emerged as their top receiver this year. Perfect ball thrown by Jaden Craig. He's got 2 steps on the defender. And sometimes being too wide open is not the thing you want to be.
3rd and 10. Craig throws and misses the mark. 4th and 10 coming up from just inside midfield. And even though it's 4th and long, you have to imagine that Harvard's going to leave the offense on the field here.
Yeah, you talked about it before. They can't have any empty possessions now. You know, if you're a Harvard fan, you might be starting to say, man, can we do anything right today? You know, wide open receiver, touchdown ball, loses track off of his face mask. Big 4th and 10 here. Let's see what Harvard can do.
They need to get to the 43-yard line. Craig throws complete on 4th and 10. Dean Boyd has a big play for the Crimson for the first down. 18 yards.
Harvard has had success with those crossing routes, those passes over the middle. And one of the things about a pressure man-to-man defense on the outsides is that oftentimes you can get somebody over the middle. And 2 finds that seam here. And Yale, during the course of the season, Yale, that's been a weakness for them. Those crossing patterns, those seam patterns. So let's see if Harvard can continue to take advantage of that.
To the ground. Yale's ready for it, though. Nowhere for Bascon to go. Brandon Webster leading the charge. Abu Kamara was in pursuit as well.
You know, it's funny, you listen to the announcer say tackled by for Kamara, and essentially you can almost say that every play. I've rarely seen a guy, and they put him everywhere. They put him in the slots, they put him back at safety, they put him on the edges, and the defense has no idea where he's coming from.
Ivy League Defensive Player of the Week after the 10 tackles last week at Princeton. Craig slides down. He'll be spotted at the 30 where he started the slide. Gain of 6, 3rd and 4 to come.
There is absolutely no quit in Jaden Craig.
Harvard working quickly. Craig throws the quick out. Great grab. Blackburn holds on to this one to pull it in for the first down.
Blackburn basically a one-handed catch, reining that ball in and tucking it in. We talked about Jaden Craig. He's just a warrior. I mean, he's just a competitor. We've seen that from the first day he showed up here at Harvard. Interesting, we talked about really it hadn't been his team as the sole #1 quarterback, except for the last season and a half. But he gives you a sense right now of the talents he has, that competitive drive that he has.
1st and 10, play action to Bascon. Craig looking and now running and shoved out of bounds, and a late flag comes in, so they're going to tack some yardage onto this run. Webster is going to get called for the late hit.
That's just completely unnecessary by Webster. He's completely out of bounds. And I'm sure the Yale coaches are going to say to Seven, what are you doing? We're in a good position here. We've got control of this game. You don't want to give them extra yards. And it's just kind of puzzling to see why. And it wasn't as if he needed to drive him out of bounds. He was already there.
Personal foul. Late hit. Defense, number 7. Off the distance to the goal. First down.
And Webster's been a leader on this team. He's a tremendous player. And I'm sure, when they sit down and look at the tape of this, and the coaches will say to him, just you kind of lost it for a moment there.
Ball is spotted inside the 10. First down and goal for Harvard. Inside of 5 minutes to play, third quarter. Craig gets rid of it. Finds Tattersall for the touchdown. Second touchdown reception for Ryan Tattersall, and Harvard not done here in New Haven. They'll go for 2.
If you've watched these games over the decades, your expression, Harvard not done here yet in New Haven, resonates, because in these games, it's fascinating how often one team will come from behind in a situation where you thought the game was over.
Craig, Harvard going for 2, throws it, and it's broken up in the end zone. Reska, the intended receiver, Daquan Gonzalez, knocked it away. Senior from East Stewart, Florida, who was battling injury, but you knew he would pedal back to be on the field for the game.
Gonzalez, we can look the touchdown right now. And Jaden Craig puts the ball up high to his big wide receiver to make that. Then a good play by Gonzalez to knock down that ball. Yale 38-20.
Big play on that scoring drive for Harvard was Jaden Craig's 4th down conversion. The pass on 4th and 10 to Dean Boyd. They capped the drive with a 9-yard touchdown to Tattersall, his second reception of the game, and it's 38-20 with plenty of time to go, but it's going to come down to stops now for Harvard. Can the defense force Yale to punt, which they have been unable to do here today?
And to me, that's been the surprise. That's been the storyline, is that the Harvard defense, this vaunted Harvard defense, has not been able not just to control the Yale offense, but to stop the Yale offense.
Corwell booted out of the back of the end zone. Yale has punted just one time today. Dante Reno and Josh Pitzenberger have teamed up to convert third down after third down. They are 8 of 11 on third down here today, Jack.
Against a Harvard team that was at the top of the nation in terms of stopping third down. So the script has been flipped here throughout the course of this game. You're seeing some of the catches made. Again, Pitzenberger just dodging, ducking, pushing people off. So let's see if this Harvard defense can get the ball back, because their offense has gotten hot.
Reno goes to the air and threw just behind Nico Brown, incomplete on first down.
There might be some Yale fans sitting there saying, okay, we're good. It's 38-20. If you're an old-time Harvard-Yale fan, you're going to remember that there were a lot of times when nobody was ever good. And I'm going to take you back to 1968, where Yale was ahead 16 points with 42 seconds left, and Harvard came back to tie it. So if you're an old-time Yale-Harvard fan, you know that these games are never over until they're over.
Fumble. Pitzenberger, this will be the first time he's brought down for a loss. Picked it up, tried to advance it, brought down at the 15. First year Brandon Ukanu was on top of him.
It almost looked as if Dante Reno was trying to pull that. And again, they have that sort of option in their playbook, but they don't use it often. But it looked to me like he was almost trying to pull that one back. This is now a big, big down for the Harvard defense to try to get a stop here.
Yale goes conservative on third down and 17, trying to, at the very least, run some clock. So it is 3 and out. The first 3 and outs for Yale's offense today. Well done by the Harvard defense when they needed the stop. And a reminder, Reese Keeney will be kicking in to the wind here on this punt.
And we've seen how difficult that's been. As you said, just a good stop. Harvard needed that to try to stay in this. Smart play by Yale. Don't try to force in the first down and give them good position.
Line drive will skip on the turf. This will turn out to be pretty good net kick for Yale. 53 yards into the wind. So that is a job well done by Yale's punter. Harvard's offense back on the field when we come back. Count Harvard out at your own peril. Score may be one-sided right now, but look what happened on this last drive. Craig took pressure, got hit. That was a 15-yard penalty. They converted on 4th and 10. They looked like they had a touchdown right here, but it was dropped, but Harvard didn't stop. Came back to Blackburn for the completion. Then Tattersall went up to get his second touchdown pass reception, and things could be turning Harvard's way right now.
Gives you a sense of the quality, the character of this Harvard team, that they are not giving up, and they're looking at it saying, you know, we got a quarter and 3 minutes left. There's a lot we can do in that time.
DJ Gordon on the carry has got maybe a yard. Ezekiel Larry, first one there on the stop.
The temptation for Harvard would be just kind of, let's throw the game plan out, let's just put the ball up in the air, but they trust their offense, they trust their game plan, so they're going to continue to run the ball with this talented group of running backs and then ride Jaden Craig's arm when they have to.
2nd and 9, Craig to throw. Intended for Tattersall. Tattersall has turned into his primary receiver. We talked earlier about Seamus Gilmartin, the number 2 receiver for Harvard, their top tight end, and Ryan Osborne, also a target at the tight end position. Those two have not been on the field today, so Tattersall has been someone who has stepped into that role a little bit here today.
And that tight end has been a big part of the arsenal of Harvard for years and years. Their 3 tight ends have 10 touchdowns so far this year. By comparison, Yale's tight ends have 12 catches. So this is a big missing part right now to Harvard's offense, not having these tight ends out there.
Craig gets it out quickly, and it's dropped. Blackburn knew he didn't have much time against this aggressive, fast Yale defense to make a move, but he moved without the football.
And if you're Harvard, you can look at it and say, here's the positive. They wouldn't have had much yardage anyway, and stop the clock to give them a little bit more clock to work with.
4th and 9 coming up here, Jack. And
this is interesting.
What is Harvard going to do here from their own 25? They're going to keep the offense on the field.
I know what we said about you can't have empty possessions, but do you look? Obviously, if they convert it, it's a brilliant decision. If they don't, it could be a disaster.
Here we go. Craig in trouble, out of trouble, throws underneath. First down, Harvard. Bascon out of the backfield hauls it in, and Harvard converts for 19 yards.
Jaden Craig, another moment. You know, you talk about people having Heisman Trophy moments. Well, here's a Player of the Year moment. He tucks that ball in. He's gonna try and go with it. Gets back to the outside and converts.
Craig throws it outside to Kaufman, and Kaufman spins forward to the 47-yard line. So they go for it on 4th and 9 from their own 25 in the 3rd quarter, and get this play.
You know, you just can't say too much about Jaden Craig, and I've met him. He's a wonderful young man, but boy, the talent and the poise. We talked about that. He's got the big arm, he's got the legs, he's got everything. He's smart, but it's the poise that he brings to this position, I think, is what puts him in a separate category.
Substitution infraction. Offense. 12 plays. 5-yard penalty.
Harvard can't afford to go backwards at this point. Got to take care of the football. Jaden Craig has been doing that. Mel Kiper has Jaden Craig on his big board. Yes, Mel.
Paying attention to him. You know, every NFL team has been to Harvard to take a look at him. So he is that caliber of a quarterback.
2nd and 13 for Craig. Steps in and intended for Henry. pass is incomplete. Joshua Tarver in coverage. Tarver is dangerous in that secondary. 3 picks this season, including at Princeton last week. Didn't play in the game last year, so getting a taste here today.
Tarver's one of the leaders out there. He can do so many things, runs kickoffs back. Yeah, he's such a valuable player on that back end. 3rd and 13, another big play here for the Harvard offense.
Craig in trouble, gets away, and it's almost intercepted. Billy Eastup, we talked about the sophomore from Phoenix before, with Osise Danian, the strong safety, second team all-conference, out with an injury. More time for Eastup and almost a primetime play here for the strong safety.
Saw the pressure coming from the left side. Ezekiel Larry once again relentless in the pressure, dropping Jaden Craig even deeper, so he did not have a lane to develop to get that throw off. And Coach Andy Orrick says, okay, let's not going to try this a second time for 4th and long.
4th and 13 this time. The kick is hauled in inside the 20 by Santiago, and Yale will bring the offense onto the field. We love to talk about the history. How about recent history in the game? Last year, Yale won at 34-29. 2 years ago, it was 23-18 here at the Bowl. Yale was down in the 4th quarter. Nolan Grooms with the touchdown pass. Tony Reno and the Bulldogs celebrating a win here in New Haven. Abu Kamara had the pick 6 last year. Yale never trailed. Pitzenberger had a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown, showing off the moves, strutting into the end zone. Yale has won 3 straight meetings in the series, and on top by 18 with 1:32 to go. Our clock is stopped. The clock in the stadium is running. A little chilly here in the building, so sometimes things freeze up.
You know, in the history of this series, being a favorite means nothing. Being the home team means nothing. There's no real home team advantage here. It's split either way. So that's what's made, one of the things that's made this game so great.
Pitzenberger pushing forward, bring up a 3rd down and a long 2 here with 50 seconds to go. Clock running. 38-20 Yale over Harvard here in the 3rd quarter. Once again, the winner gets the first ever automatic bid to the FCS playoffs. Ivy League back in December voting that in, so a playoff spot on the line. Both these teams could hear their names called tomorrow. What Selection Sunday. 3rd down and 2. Play action to Pitzenberger. Reno throws it up for grabs. It's caught by Nico Brown. He's got blockers in front. Brown to the middle and brought down inside the 15. Once again, Reno puts it up for grabs, and Brown is there to haul it in.
This is like a Hollywood script for Nico Brown. You talked about before how little he got to play for 3 years. Dante Reno trusts him, fits that ball into an amazingly tight pocket. That was maybe the best throw Dante Reno has had all season long. He gets it to his receiver, and then Nico Brown just turns it into, once again, the Nico Brown show here today.
When Yale's needed to play, they've gotten it. When they've needed fans to take off their shirts, they've gotten it. It's all coming up Eli right now as we head to the 4th quarter in New Haven. Top of Harvard, 38-20 here at Yale Bowl. Next stop on the F1 schedule, 3rd annual Las Vegas Grand Prix. It's tonight under the lights on the Strip, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific on ESPN. Our pre-race coverage starts at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and the all-new ESPN app. Reno to Brown, 61 yards to close out the 3rd quarter. Brown now with 8 catches and 189 yards. First play of the 4th quarter is 1st down and 10 for Yale at the Harvard 12. They go on the ground looking to run it in for another touchdown! Lucius Anderson takes it in!
Yale rarely runs this play. The wide receiver sweep here. We've heard that this freshman had a lot of talent, but to be given the opportunity, I'm pretty sure he's a freshman, given the opportunity to a touchdown against Harvard.
He is a freshman. Had 4 catches for 52 yards in 6 games played, and shows up and runs it in from 12 yards out to give Yale another touchdown.
Again, something that Yale has rarely run. Show it just this time. Save it for Harvard. Great blocking on the edge. Allows him to cut it in. So if you're a freshman, how about this moment in your first Harvard game?
Well, I want to bring it back to, he's not a freshman on the roster, Dante Reno. He's a sophomore, but this is his first year at quarterback. You just mentioned about some of the throws he's made and how poised he's looked here today at Yale Bowl in one of the biggest moments in Yale football history.
And I've seen enough of these games to know that there are some great players here that just maybe didn't shine as much in a Harvard-Yale game here. But Dante Reno, as we said, no meaningful snaps for 2 years. And now he's developed to the point at this game, the 10th game of his season, he has certainly just been a star. We've seen some throws from him that, not that he couldn't make it, but they didn't ask him to make it during the course of this season.
But Jack, his efficiency, 15 of 19, 273 yards and 3 touchdowns. This will go for a touchback.
You could take his numbers, Dante Reno's numbers, or Nico Brown's numbers, and either of them would be not just Ivy League Offensive Player of the Week. These could be National Offensive Player of the Week numbers.
On the other side, Harvard just has not had an answer defensively. They just have been unable to stop this Yale attack.
Now, we've mentioned that Yale is just winning all of the matchups here. They have been since the very beginning.
Harvard goes to the ground. Meanwhile, Yale's defense has kept that running game in check. Zarian Jackson-Bass with a stop.
You know, I don't mean to suggest in any way that Harvard is just not playing hard or just kind of lying down. But let me finish the thought after this play.
2nd and 8. Big blitz from Yale, and down goes Craig. Such an aggressive defense. 34th sack this season for Yale's defense. That's the best in the Ivy League. J.P. Schmidt came on the blitz.
J.P. Schmidt, the delayed blitz up the middle. What happens is you delay it so that all of the other offensive linemen have matched up with defensive people, and it leaves that opening for him as a free runner.
3rd and 18. Craig out of trouble. Scrambling, throws against his body and throws it. Caught. What a play by Jaden Craig. Brady Blackburn with the catch. That's a first down for the Crimson.
Jaden Craig, he's a competitor. He is the real deal, the entire package. Doesn't make any difference what the score is. This guy is going to come after you.
Not many guys have gotten away from the Yale pass rush this season. That's going to be a short hop, incomplete. I want to go back to your original thought. As you see that completion, I went for 21 yards. About mindset in this game for Harvard and Yale.
Yale came in with this extraordinary sense of urgency. This was a must-win playoff game for them. Harvard came in, and I'm not saying that they haven't played hard, but they knew they had to share the title. They knew they're most likely, even if they lose, going to get into the playoffs. And you have to wonder how the difference in the urgency has manifested itself in this game.
Pass to the outside. Kaufman brought down at the 40-yard line. And we talked with the Harvard captain, Ty Bartram. He made it clear they didn't want to share a title. They wanted an undefeated, outright Ivy League title. So the messaging was there, but you're just saying in the back of the mind,
you don't know. You don't know. And I'm not trying to diminish. This is a great Harvard team. Great, a historic Harvard team. But you don't know.
Craig on the run, throws it up, and a flag comes in. Tattersall was the intended receiver. Schmidt on the coverage made some contact, and this looks like it's going to be pass interference on J.P. Schmidt.
Yeah,
Pass interference, defense, number 15, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
looked like a lot of contact. Jaden Craig constantly on the move. Almost a spectacular one-handed catch. You know, you had a little hand fighting on both sides, but the officials are looking at it saying too much from number 15.
First down for Craig. Bascon. Yale working hard to gang up on him, tough to bring down and keep him in play and keep that clock running inside of 13 minutes now to go in the fourth quarter. If Yale wins, they are going to the NCAA playoffs, and they will be co-champions with Harvard in the Ivy League. Harvard would need to wait for the selection show noon tomorrow here on ESPNU and hope they'd be announced as an at-large bid. And I just want to finish that thought you made before. They certainly, in our opinion, have done everything to warrant an at-large bid. As a matter of fact, if they win here today, they would have probably been considered for a first-round bye. That's how good their season has been. They're a top 10 team, and one game on the road shouldn't take away from their consideration from getting in. There should be two teams in the playoffs from the Ivy League if Yale gets this victory here today.
And wouldn't that be great for the Ivy League? Finally, they're allowed to play in this, for them to get two teams in the first time.
Craig throws it up towards the end zone, and it is caught for a touchdown. Blackburn hauls it in, and Harvard has a score. They'll go for two again.
You got to feel good for Brady Blackburn. He's played a wonderful game, but he had that drop earlier where he was wide open, and this is a spectacular catch. Great throw, once again, over the shoulder, stretching out back. Just a marvelous throw and an even better catch by Blackburn.
With Kamara on the coverage. So once again, Harvard goes for two, unsuccessful before. Craig will be the intended receiver. This worked against Penn at Harvard Stadium a couple of years ago. Tattersall to Craig. Craig to Tattersall had worked for a couple touchdowns. This time it works the other way for a two-point conversion.
We share it. There's the touchdown. Again, that's great coverage. Abu Kamara all over him. Great coverage, better throw, better catch. Little trick play here that they've done before. Harvard staying in this game.
Final day of the regular season in the Ivy League. Yale on top of Jaden Craig and Harvard here in the fourth quarter. Eyes on Providence. Brown trying to play a bit of a spoiler here for Dartmouth. Dartmouth needed a win today in Providence, and they needed Harvard to beat Yale to move the Big Green into very strong consideration for an at-large berth into the FCS playoffs. But Brown, other ideas today.
Brown's been a dangerous team all year, up and down, which is kind of what makes them even more dangerous. You're not sure what kind of team you're going to get. But as you said, what Dartmouth needed was Harvard to win, because Dartmouth would have that head-to-head win over Yale. I tell you what, I don't care who you're rooting for. This is a fun game. I don't care what level of football you're watching. This is a fun game to watch, and really quality football being played out here.
Core boots it away. Yale no return, and the touchback. Well, Yale has piled up 405 yards of total offense against a Harvard defense that came in giving up on average 282, but remember, Penn had 425 yards last week, so Dante Reno's been on target against this Harvard defense.
Yes, he is, I think, coming into this game, Harvard thought we got to start number 7, and we don't think that number 2 can beat us. That's what they were thinking. Now we've gotten it both from number 7, from Josh Pitsenberg, and from number 2, Dante Reno, so far, both having spectacular games.
Pitsenberger gets the handoff, and it's a good run on first down as Pitsenberger picks up about 9.
You could see Harvard, player number 8, just kind of putting his hands at his head afterwards, like he's saying, what do we got to do to stop this guy?
Watch number 35, Sean Line, as he came in, went down awkwardly as he made the tackle on Pittsburgh, and he is the player who is down for the Crimson. Their leading tackler this season, junior being attended to on the field with 11:31 to go in the fourth. Back in a moment.
Saturday Kickoff is brought to you by Allstate. You're in good hands.
The game being played in New Haven this year. It'll be played at Fenway Park next year. Last time Harvard and Yale met there was back in 2018, and Harvard defeated Yale 45-27. You were there for that game. Very cool experience.
It was cool. I was part of the team calling it. They had to move it because Harvard Stadium was undergoing some renovations. And it was interesting because everybody's kind of, oh, is this a good idea or not? The alums were like, oh, we want to stay on campus. It turned out that the players loved it. I talked to them and they said they felt like they were playing in a bowl game. So it's going to be back there again next year, and boy, is it fun to be in Fenway Park to do anything.
Sean Line was helped up and walked off the field, so we'll see if number 35 is out there in short order. Second down and 1 here. We would expect Pitzenberger get the carry again. He does, and he's got another first down. Josh Pitzenberger, 31 carries now, Jack. He has gone over the 100-yard mark for an 8th time this season.
You know, he got a chance to spend some time with him. He came, there's a former Yale football players luncheon on the Friday before, and he came and spoke as the captain. And just a well-spoken, smart guy. You know, he's everything you would want a Yale captain to be. And I would say Ty Bartram, the same for the Harvard captain. We had a chance to spend some time with him this week. These two young men are just what the best that the game of football has to offer.
Sean Line back on the field, and he's unable to grab Pitzenberger the first time, who stumbles forward for a few more. Well, we had a chance to chat with Josh this week, and we asked him about the captaincy, and he said simply, it's the greatest honor I've had in my life. It's the legacy of what happens here at Yale, one captain, and for him, 103 guys who I love and respect have faith and trust in me.
It really just the emotion that these two guys offer about what this means to them and what it's meant over the years. Look, other teams have captains. We're not trying to, again, diminish that, but it's a special thing for Harvard and for Yale, and these two guys are great representatives of their programs.
Back to Pitzenberger. Going to be close to the first down, maybe about a foot short on second down. So a 3rd and short coming up, but the clock continues to run, and Yale will let it tick down inside of 9 minutes. Up by 17 here in the fourth.
You know, right now they've got a burn clock. Harvard, we said, has not given up. They've closed this to 17 points. This Harvard offense, when they're clicking, could put up 17 points in no time at all. So Yale needs to hold on to this ball, to make the clock move, to continue their possessions here, to keep the Harvard offense off the field.
Gotta believe it's going to Pitzenberger on 3rd and inches. It does, and he pushes the pile forward for another Yale first down. We talked about it earlier, Jack, in that must-need win at Princeton last week. He picked up 3 first downs on that go-ahead drive that was capped off by a game-winning field goal. Yale beat Princeton 13-10, and here he is again, continuing to pick up first downs against Harvard.
It was not a good game by Yale last week at Princeton. I get a chance to go watch it. And, you know, coaches often tell you if you're going to have a championship season, there's probably going to be one game there where you're going to be lucky to get out of it. That was the game for Yale last year. But Pitzenberger was the guy. Pitzenberger was the guy who, when they needed him, they put the game on his shoulders, and he carries it, which is what he's done today.
Come on, baby!
Pitzenberger driving down after a gain of about 1. This was the scene pregame. Yale, when they were walking into the bowl, Pitzenberger there to greet every teammate, active or not. Captain's duty. So he'll head off here for this play. Billy Dowell will come back on. Inside of 7.5 minutes to go here in the fourth. Play clock down to 4. Dow with positive yards to the 45-yard line. It was Dow on the carry. Pitzenberger is going to jump back onto the field now. There is number 7 heading back out. Senior from Bethesda, Maryland. Came from a very small high school. Didn't know if he'd be able to handle everything that Yale challenges you with as a student and as an athlete, but right from that first year, Rookie of the Year in the Ivy League, and as you mentioned, a 4-year fixture. Yale 10 of 14 on third down here today. 3rd and 6. Pitzenberger pushes forward. That's going to be just short. And let's see what Yale decides to do. Do they go for it here to try to move the chains, knowing if they do that, they'll knock off a couple more minutes here in the fourth quarter.
And Yale's been really good about burning the clock so far. Dante Reno taking it down to like 2 seconds before the ball gets snapped. Coach Tony Reno watching now, talking with his coaches about what's going on. Clearly they're going to go for it here with a 4th and very short. And look, there's still 6 minutes left. I'm not saying that would end the game, but boy, would it put Harvard in a really tough position if Yale's ever able to convert this.
Yale's going to have to call a timeout here, you would think. Play clock down to 3. And a flag comes out. They should have probably burned the timeout.
Yeah. Offense, number 22. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
That's a big mistake for a team that has not made any mistakes so far today, but you got to think somehow there was a miscommunication there about when they realized that the clock was running down about stopping. And that's, you know what, it's a big penalty. That's a big swing, because odds are they would have been able to pick up that 4th down, and now they have to give the ball back to Harvard.
So the punt team on. Blackburn back to return it. Keeney to boot it away for Yale, trying to pin Harvard deep. That's up on the wind a little bit and heading into the end zone for a touchback. We'll take a timeout. 5:28 to go in the fourth quarter. Jaden Craig and the Harvard offense on the field when we come back. Reminder, plenty more football to come today. Bottom of the hour on ABC and also on the all-new ESPN app. 17th ranked Texas in Austin taking on the Razorbacks. 7:30 Eastern. 20th ranked Tennessee taking on Florida in the Swamp. Remember to tune in for the Home Depot College Football Awards Show Friday, December 12th, 7 p.m. on ESPN. Spotlight on the Tennessee Vols wide receiver. Spotlight on Jaden Craig here as he's back on the field for Harvard, trying to mount a big comeback here for the Crimson against Yale. Dean Boyd with the reception. Gain of 8. You mentioned the pro prospects for Jaden Craig. Mel Kiper's got him on his quarterback big board. As Craig set the throw here. He is on track to graduate early, and as we've talked about in past years, if you are a graduate of an Ivy League school, you are out of eligibility in the Ivy League. You have to go play somewhere else if you have athletic eligibility remaining, and that could be an option for Jaden Craig next year.
Yeah, he's going to have to make a decision. Because I got to believe there are a lot of coaches, and maybe they're hearing us right now saying this, but there are a lot of coaches that would love to have him, even if for just a year.
That one is intended for Tattersall. E-step on the coverage. 2nd and 10 coming up. So Brown closes out the season with back-to-back victories. They end a 7-game losing streak in the series to Dartmouth, and they spoil the Big Green's hopes of trying to get in as an at-large team in the FCS playoffs. Brown with the victory. Craig incomplete. 3rd and 10 coming up. Again, what's at stake here today? If this score holds, Yale will be Ivy League co-champs, but because the first tiebreaker for the NCAA playoffs is head-to-head. We didn't have to go down to the 8th tiebreaker.
And they
like
worked it all the way down to the 8th.
You prepared us for that. Just need the first one, which is head-to-head. That means Yale would be the automatic qualifier from the Ivy League. Harvard would be counting on an at-large bid, but Harvard's undefeated right now. They are ranked 10th in the country. You would expect them to hear their name called tomorrow. Frankly, it would be a shock if their name isn't called tomorrow.
It would be astonishing because and they worked their way up. As I said, they were 7th different times, 7th or 8th in the nation here. They're a quality team. As you said before, if you lose a rivalry game away to a nationally ranked team, that shouldn't keep you out, and I don't think it would.
Another first, though, for the Ivy League. They will have watch parties and be watching the selection show for the NCAA playoffs tomorrow noon Eastern time on ESPNU. That's another catch for Tattersall as he steps out of bounds. And Jack, I know we've talked throughout the season, but for those who are just watching an Ivy League game for the first time today, this is something that Ivy League teams, and you played in the league back in the day, players have always wanted to show what they can do against the other teams across the country. And it wasn't the players who play football in the Ivy League who pushed for this. It was other athletes at the schools.
It was
in the
athletes,
Ivy League.
men and women from other sports. Jaden Craig escaping the pocket once again, throwing a little bit high and wide. But your point is important. And there had been a push for years to get them in, and the Ivy presidents had their reasons for saying no. This time the push comes not from coaches, not from athletic directors, not from football players. It was from other teams' representatives, some men, some women, saying, this is a matter of equity. We can play for a national championship. Why can't football? And the presidents, to their great credit, said, you know, you're absolutely right. And this is the first year that an Ivy champ, maybe two, going to have a chance to play for a national title. You know, there have been some teams in the past, Eric, you and I have talked about this, Ivy teams, but it could have made a deep run into that tournament.
Craig throws down to the 25-yard line. They'll be short of the first down marker. Dean Boyd's got the reception. Clock is running inside of 3.5 minutes to go.
And you know what? Harvard wants to keep the pressure because they know, all right, if they don't win this game, let's finish the play.
They go on the ground. Jordan Harris is stopped and pushed back.
Yeah. So Harvard is looking, look, if we don't win this game, but we are going to get in the playoffs, we want to go in with some positive momentum. We don't want to just sit on the ball. You know, we just don't want to, you know, take a knee. They're going to keep pushing it, and hopefully this, whatever momentum they're generating here, will carry over for them to a possible next game. Big 4th and 1 play here.
Crowd at the Yale Bowl gets louder for the 4th down play, and a timeout's going to be called by Yale. Defensive coordinator Sean McGowan making sure T's are crossed, I's are dotted here. As the timeout stops the clock with 2:42 to go. The 4th and 1 coming up. Nico Brown has been outstanding here today for Yale. He has been the primary target. We take a look at today's Good Hands plays brought to you by Allstate.
Nico Brown has basically had a career day here today for a guy, and we can't stress so much. He wasn't on the field for 3 years for all sorts of problems. And he gets his chance this year. He makes the best of it. And in his first real Harvard-Yale game, he's a star.
4th down and 1 for the Crimson. Pressure up the middle. Craig breaks free. He's got enough for the first down. J.P. Schmidt hit him. Craig took some hard contact, but he's got the first down.
Jaden Craig is a warrior. You know, he's the guy no matter what kind of team you're playing, you want a Jaden Craig on your team. No matter what the score is, he's putting his head down and getting that first down here because that's the kind of person and football player he is.
Craig, flag is thrown, likely holding against Harvard. There's Webster on the stop. As the clock ticks down to 2 minutes, he'll get us to the 2-minute timeout, but first we're going to check on the flag.
A lot of conversation going on here for what is usually in that area, as you said, usually ends up being offensive holding. There may well be something more complicated here.
Also, some other things to process. 2-minute timeout.
During the play, you have a personal foul with targeting. Offense, number 71. Got previous plays under further review.
Interesting. So it's not holding. Thomas O'Brien, the left guard, is called for targeting. Now the question would be, is this the 2-minute timeouts or the review first, or do they kind of combine them? Because
it's an interesting thing. If they uphold this, and if Harvard's getting into the playoff, he's going to end up having to sit for part of the next game. Oh, you can see it right on the left. We lost it, but on the far left of the frame, he gets his guy down on the ground and then essentially dives into it. Number 2, it's Ezekiel Yalie, who has been a thorn in the side of Harvard all day long. See if you can see this. On the left side, you see 71. He goes down.
oh yeah,
Oh, that's, you know, talking about something we mentioned this before for Brandon Webster on his penalty, saying there's just kind of no reason for that. And look, you got to understand the frustration level for Harvard right now. It has to be enormous. You know, these guys in a historic season wanted to finish it up the way they hoped to do with a win against Yale. Has to be. That's a frustration play.
couple housekeeping things just to make it clear. They're going to do the review first, and then we'll have the 2-minute timeout. So we're in a holding pattern right now as they review this to see if targeting is going to be confirmed. And if that is indeed the case, and Harvard gets an at-large bid into the NCAA playoffs, Thomas O'Brien sits out the first half of that playoff game. Playoffs start next weekend on Saturday.
And at this point, when Ezekiel Yalie was on the ground, so he'd be considered a defenseless player. And that's clearly what they're looking at. And I'd kind of be surprised if they didn't uphold this call. But just as we said before, it's a frustration. You know, if you play in this game, it's so meaningful to you. You can see it right now, Coach Ulrich, and here's what good coaches do. And by the way, he's developed. He's been 2 years a head coach, and he's done a fantastic job.
After review, the ruling on the field of targeting is upheld. Offense number 71 is disqualified for the remainder of the game. 15-yard penalty. 2-minute timeout on the field.
So Coach Andy Ulrich having a conversation with his player.
Todd Boyd laid it all out. We are now at the 2-minute timeouts. Yale 2 minutes away from an Ivy co-championship. 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Yale on top of Harvard by 17. The Bulldogs have not trailed today. Last gasp here for Harvard as Jaden Craig has it. Pass is complete to Blackburn. Blackburn is kept in play, 1:50 to go, clock running. Craig now 19 of 37 passing. Has time, throws, and it's broken up. J.P. Schmidt came flying in to knock it away.
That was one of the few things today that Jaden Craig didn't do right. He eyeballed that receiver from the moment he got his hands on the ball, and it allowed the safety from Yale to swing over and to get in the midst of that. J.P. Schmidt almost picked that ball up.
3rd down and 15 for the Crimson. Craig throws it outside. Kaufman trying to find an opening, cannot. The question is, did he get out of bounds? I haven't seen an indication from the officials yet. The clock is still running.
Yeah, the official cranked it. I think the problem was he could have gotten out of bounds immediately, but once he went forward and then got pushed backwards, the officials are not going to give you the stoppage.
4th down and 10 for the Crimson. Craig to pass. Craig throws, it's incomplete. And the celebration can't begin in New Haven. Yale will have a share of the Ivy League championship, and they will go to the NCAA FCS playoffs.
They had somewhere around 50,000 people in the bowl today, and looking down, most of the Yale fans are still here. Good portion of the Harvard fans are still here, but many of them left. But you look down, and the Yale fans are ready to celebrate this historic win.
Does it get any sweeter in the game than victory formation on your home field? That's where Yale is right now. One more snap for the Bulldogs. Dante Reno transfers from South Carolina. Timeout is called here. Comes home to a field he ran around on as a kid. His dad, Tony, the head coach. There his father and his son could not have played any better here today, Jack. 15 of 19 passing, 273 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions.
It's one of the great feel-good stories. You know, you just, and if you're just a football fan, you don't have to be a Yale fan. You know, the prodigal son quite literally and figuratively comes back home to play for his dad after the dad didn't pitch it. He said to him, I want to come play for you, and to be able to do this in this first season on the field for Yale.
Pitzenberger will get the handoff. Yale had to come out of victory formation because Harvard burned the timeout. Got to make sure everybody keeps their cool here a little bit. As Pitzenberger gets the final carry. Harvard takes another timeout. That stops the clock with 44 seconds to go. Tempers are flaring a little bit. I think I just saw Chris Ostrowski, the offensive coordinator for Yale, pointing on the Harvard sideline as Pitzenberger was brought down.
And Josh Pitzenberger said something to the guy who brought him down. And one of the things about him is he never talks. He's not one of those guys, you know, who's going to get chippy with the guys on the other side. And I thought, if he's saying something to somebody, then something really happened. One of the problems is you call in these timeouts, and it's kind of raising the anxiety level on both sides. And then you have to run a play, and you get some little pushing and shoving afterwards. You can see Josh Pitzenberger here tucking it in. Well, you can see a little shot. It's a dumb shot by number 8, hitting the helmet of Josh Pitzenberger. I'm not sure what he thought he was doing.
Back to Pitzenberger.
Hello?
Down he goes. And the final timeout called by Harvard with 38 seconds to go. They may put a little time back on the clock. Boos will rain down here from the bowl.
Great moments. You want to talk about what this game is all about. All right, that's what this game is all about. 2 sensational football teams. They come out, they bang it out. It means a whole lot. And at the end, you see number 7, Josh Pitzenberger, the Yale captain, and 21, Ty Bartram, come together. A moment of great respect between these 2 players and their teams and the schools that they represent. You know, if you have any question about the value of college football, take a look at that. Take a look at that moment of those 2 guys, and you'll realize that this is just indeed a great game played by wonderful young men. College football indeed.
So Yale punts it away. Harvard out of timeouts. See if Harvard tries to get a block here. They bring some pressure. Now the Crimson will try the return with Blackburn. Not much room for him to find. He'll head out of bounds with 33 seconds to go. And one snap, and that should end things here, depending on what Harvard wants to do, if they want to delay the inevitable here at Yale Bowl. And that's a Yale celebration.
You've seen sometimes in these games where coaches will extend it. They want to get their seniors on the field to say that they played a snap in a Harvard-Yale game. Not sure why we're burning so many timeouts here, but
heard the penalty, so gonna move things back here. See where they spot it.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's Yale's going to win this game, and they're going to get the automatic. Harvard's going to lose. They'll share the Ivy League title. But I got to suggest to the committee, if they're watching this game, that Harvard needs to be in this tournament. Not just needs to be, but deserves to be in this playoff, FCS playoffs, based upon the quality of their season and the quality of a team here that just refuses to give up.
Ran into a Yale team that would stretch their winning streak to 6 and improved 8-2 on the season. Harvard will drop to 9-1, 6-1 in the Ivy. Yale 6-1 in the Ivy. That means the ancient rivals will be co-champs in the Ivy League. Harvard, it's their 20th Ivy title. They wrapped that up last week at home against Penn in that thriller. For Yale, this will be their 19th Ivy League title. Craig, a little shovel pass forward. This is going to be enough for a first down. They'll stop the clock momentarily to move the chains. But Bascon stayed inbounds.
You know what could be interesting here? Let's assume now both teams get in, which I think should be a valid assumption. I wonder what the mathematical prospects are for them to play against each other in the playoffs. You know, now I think they're just doing this just to aggravate the Yale fans.
Mission accomplished.
Exactly. Just kind of stretch this out a little bit just to aggravate the Yale folks. It is, after all, Harvard and Yale. They compete against each other in absolutely everything, and they concede nothing to the other.
Craig will throw outside to Kaufman. Kaufman up the field. Looks for extra yardage. He's brought down. This will stop the clock for the moment to move the chains with 14 seconds to go. Now the clock is running. Maybe one more snap here for the Crimson. Craig, countdown is on. He throws it underneath. That will do it. The Ivy League's first ever automatic bid to the NCAA FCS playoffs belongs to Yale.
In the midst of the celebration, the coaches trying to make their way through the crowds to midfield. These coaches have great respect for each other. Andy Orrick has been in the league for a long time, played at Princeton, coached for a long time at Princeton. Tony Reno, an assistant coach at Yale, at Harvard before taking over at Yale. Great, you've heard them talk about each other, great respect for each other. I can't see in that mass of people whether they were able to get together to congratulate each other, shake hands after just another legendary Harvard-Yale game.
Andy Ulrich will head off the field, not before paying tribute to some of the Yale players. There is the Yale head coach.
That's the Yale head coach,
Tony Reno.
and his wife, Tony, in the midst of that. And she's just this
She's a spectacular woman on her own, a great coach's wife, a great fan of Yale. And for her, and I've talked with her about this, the joy of having her husband as the coach and her son as the quarterback has been unmatched all season long.
For Tony Reno, it's his 5th Ivy League title, and his son Dante was a big part of it. 15 of 19 passing, 273 yards, and the 3 touchdowns.
Can I tell you a story about the hiring of Tony Reno? I was on the committee. This was 13 years ago. Yale was in the midst of a 9-game losing streak against Harvard. Tony Reno comes in. He has a binder where he's laid out every day and every minute of practice for the next year until the next Harvard-Yale game. And one of the first questions posed to him is, what can you do to stop Harvard from beating us every year? And his answer was, I've got a plan. And have a plan indeed.
Plan came together today, Jack, right from the very start. Harvard had the first snap. Yale came up with the takeaway on the strip by Brandon Webster. On the next play, Dante Reno found Santiago for the touchdown. And so now Yale is up to 19 titles. Harvard's actually at 20 now. They were looking for their 8th outright championship. So they have to share it with Yale. Now the question is, and if you've pointed out, the season should continue for Harvard. We know it continues for Yale. They'll find out their place in the FCS playoffs tomorrow, noon Eastern time. ESPNU is the selection show. We fully expect Harvard will and should have their name called.
They have played themselves into that position where they should be getting their shot at the national championship. And hopefully that will take place and that will happen tomorrow. And it'll be interesting then to see where these teams end up in terms of seedings. 24 teams get into the FCS playoffs, to a championship tournament to win a national title. 11 are automatic qualifiers. Yale will now be one of those. The other 13 are going to be at-large selections, where you and I agree wholeheartedly Harvard should absolutely be one of those at-large selections. First 8 teams have byes, right? And then the games are played at home stadiums until you get to the final, which this year is going to be played in Nashville. In the past, traditionally, it's been played in Frisco, Texas. The stadium there is being renovated, so they're going to be playing in Nashville, Tennessee. So that opportunity, one of the great things about this tournament is you have so many games being played in home venues. Draws big crowds, continues the interest, allows the fans to follow their team as they move forward into this tournament. So it's been a great tournament. It's been going on since 1978, and now for the first time ever, Ivy League football teams, Yale and hopefully also Harvard, are going to get a chance at a national championship.
Now the question's going to be, will this Yale team be able to get out from this mosh pit to the NCAA playoffs?
Look at this crowd, and these kids were just anxious about getting on it. I mentioned before, and this is, I think, is pretty neat, is that all these Yale students are out here. They're all on vacation. Their classes ended yesterday. They have a week-long break for Thanksgiving, but look how many of them chose to stay to experience this game. And it is an experience. Having lived through it, it's kind of different as a player. You never experienced this. But then as a fan coming back and experience it, it's something that everybody looks forward to if you're involved in the Harvard or Yale communities. It's happened up at Harvard where the students have done all this. The students had the opportunity to win, see Harvard win championships and get out on the field. So it's just it is truly an experience for Harvard and Yale.
Kudos to Josh Pitzenberger, the captain for Yale. 38 carries, 143 yards. He is in the middle of all that somewhere, celebrating. This is how the day began as he greeted his teammates, and then he found the end zone. Yale never trailed, and they are heading to the NCAA playoffs. A 45-28 win in the game for Jack Ford and our crew. I'm Eric Freed. So long from the Bowl.